Hello. Sorry I was late. Can y'all hear me? Let me make sure. Let me get this stream together. Oh, y'all in here. Sorry I was late. I got a bunch of DMs and calls. Were you guys all watching this case last night? Doing all the research on this and being angry, telling everybody you know about how crazy this is? Let me find. So I wanted to start with where we left off yesterday, which is right before the mother of his child, because Jarvis took the car, asked to use her car. And so that's where we were. So that's what I was, girl, I'm still mad. I know. Yeah, I seen the family members interview. A lot of people have been talking about that family members interview. I think somebody sent it to me. I'll have to pull it up. You're saying you can't hear me? You guys can hear me? Sound is fine. Okay. That's hilarious. You in a meeting. Joy. Joy says she called in sick today because I was up all night listening to the podcast. Are you learning a lot from the podcast? So many people are talking about that podcast and how like that guy has been following it for so long, like since the beginning, and was learning things and exposing things prior to even the police. I watched the podcast of the 7 Mile Radio. Well, shout out to that. I hope he does get a bunch of views for covering this stuff. Ms. Tiff says CPS is trying to contact the extended family members now. Oh, I didn't see that, Stephanie. Stephanie says, stick that family still posting on Facebook and throwing parties for that evil man. Yeah, I do hear Shannon called in several times. Yeah, will I be able to? Let me get it really quick, and then I'll get started on the, here it is. I'm going to put the link in there. I think I can put links. Actually, I think the mods can too. Let me see if I can pin this. That's a link to the podcast that got hit 7 Mile Radio. If you go on that link, at least for me, right when I get on it, the For You, like the first few videos for this page are talks about this case. Oh, this was playing when I didn't know. Okay, I'm going to get this started. I have the chat up. Absolutely. Let me be clear. I always want to support originators of content. So, yes. Miss Tiff says, thanks, Mel. He has a big following on Facebook, but not YouTube. He doesn't ask for it, but needs the coverage about this case. So watch his YouTube, subscribe to him as a creator. I know what that stuff means, but also because this case absolutely needs pressure. I think many of us have seen what happens when the public starts to pay attention to cases, right? What happens when pressure is put on, when eyes are on stuff, that kind of stuff matters. So absolutely, subscribe to him, watch, do whatever, especially if he has the information. That's I'm always a fan of people who have are sourcing the information. That's why I always try to pull documents and go to the actual clips to show what is being said, so y'all know it's not just me. Hey, that girl 66. Oh, because you got a Corvette. I see it. Thanks for subbing. All right. So yes, we love the subs. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for showing him love and supporting. All right, let's get started. So we finished yesterday with Jarvis's sister, and we're going to pick up with the mother of his child. And I think before we get into it, I think what is important to remember, if you're not aware, but I think everybody probably did all the research last night and stayed up all night last night. So you probably are aware. But I think what's important for this testimony is that here, right, the picture on my right, that is how Naziah looked the day she went missing. The glasses, right? I think you can see the headphones in her ear, right? So all of that is important and context for the testimony of the mother of his child, which is what we're going to watch next. So let me pull it back up. And let's get into it. Also got some new patrons. So if you are a new Patreon member and in here, thanks for joining the co-counsel. Thanks for joining the co-conspirators. Appreciate y'all for joining that as well. All right, here we go.
Whenever you're ready, Ms. Brookie.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon. Could you please state your name for the record?
Johnson.
And how old are you?
31.
And I don't want to know your exact address, but what street do you live on?
Outer Drive in Belfort.
And what kind of vehicle did you drive back in January of 2024?
A blue Nissan Sentra.
Okay. And do you recall being interviewed by Detroit police back on August 30th of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And fair to say that was in relation to a Jarvis Fiance?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know a Jarvis Fiance?
Yes.
Okay. And how is it that you know Jarvis Fiance?
He's my daughter's father.
Okay. And do you see Mr. Butts in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And can you point to him and tell me the color of the clothing that he's wearing?
He's right there and he's wearing green.
And Your Honor, would the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant?
So reflective.
Thank you. You said that he's your daughter's father.
Yes.
How old is your daughter?
She just turned 2.
And when did you meet Jarvis Fiance?
2019.
And how was it that you met him?
I had a flat tire.
Just to be clear, because I may have mixed it up or said it incorrectly, but Jarvis has Naziah's aunt, who is the father of 5 of his children. They don't seem like they were in a relationship, but it seems like they still got together. So Shannon is one person. This is the mother, as she just stated, the mother of his daughter. He has a 2-year-old daughter. This is the mother of his daughter. The next person we will watch is his fiance. So he also has, I hate when I do that. He also has a fiance. So there are, and one of the detectives also talks about the fact that he brought multiple women to a motel that Shannon even said she went to at times. So he has a lot of women in his life. Just know that. But this is the mother of his daughter, 2-year-old. We will get to the fiance.
I went to his auto shop on Warren and Casual.
Now, you said you have one daughter with Mr. Butts. Do you have any other children?
Yes.
Okay. What other children do you have?
I have a son.
Okay. And how old is he?
He's 7.
And that is not a child by Mr.
No.
Butts. Now, do you recall, we'll take you back to February 15th, 2024. Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened that day?
Police came to my home, asking me if I know Jarvis and have I seen Naziah
Okay.
before.
All right. And did you, I guess, did they do anything at your house when you were there?
They searched my house.
Did they ever search, on that day, did they search your vehicle?
No,
Okay.
they just looked in there. They didn't do it for, I don't know if that was what you call a search of them looking inside.
Was there ever a time that you allowed Jarvis to use your vehicle?
Yes, one time.
Okay. And which,
Two times, I should say.
2 times? Okay.
Ms.
And
Johnson, can you speak up just a little louder?
2 times.
Thank you.
in which vehicle was that?
The blue Nissan Sentra.
Okay. And I showed you a PowerPoint before of 197 photos of a Nissan Sentra. Do you recall seeing those photos?
Yes.
Ms.
And,
Ridley, can you hold on for 1 moment for the court reporter?
oh, sorry. Yes. Do you recall me showing you the photos of a Nissan Sentra before?
Yes.
Okay. And in showing you those photos, did those fairly and accurately depict how your Nissan Sentra looked back on August 30th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay. Now, well, first I'll move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 11, the PowerPoint of the Nissan Sentra.
Any objection?
No objection.
It'll be admitted as People's Exhibit 11?
Thank you, Judge. May I publish?
Yes.
Now, when you let Jarvis Butts borrow your vehicle, did it look? Oops, sorry. Did it look how it was photoed?
The back was messed up, but the front was good.
Okay.
It was fixed.
So back in January of 2024, your car still had the front end?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the only difference in how it looked
On
from?
the photo, yes.
Okay. So that's the only difference in how it looked from January of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. When is it that Mr. Butts borrowed your vehicle?
January 9th.
Is that the first time?
Yes.
Okay. And you said there was a second time?
Yes.
When was that?
I think it was either the next day or the day after that day. I don't remember.
Okay. The first time, let's talk about the first time. How did it come about that he borrowed your car?
He called and asked if he can use my car to do something with his son.
And when is it that or how did he get your car?
I didn't get home till about 9 o'clock and he came to my house to pick
Okay.
my car up.
Is that 9 a.m. or 9 p.m.?
9 p.m.
9 p.m.? Okay. And you said he came to your house and picked it up?
Yes.
Okay. To your knowledge, did Mr. Butts say how long he was going to borrow your car for?
No,
Okay. Did you have a time where you expected it back?
at least 2 hours.
When did Mr. Butts return with your car?
The next
She is talking really low. I can't remember if it's with her or somebody else. I think the judge will instruct. She already did tell her to speak louder, but it may be her or somebody else where she tells them, like, get that mic and talk into the mic. She is just talking really low. But what she's talking about right now is on the evening of the 9th, Jarvis reached out to her and said that he needed to use her car to do something with his son. I am also, if you're familiar, put it in the comments, confused about the car situation. It's been said he doesn't have a car, but it's been said he has a pearl colored Cadillac. That's the car that was being driven that day. But he did ask to borrow this woman's vehicle. She has that blue Nissan Sentra. He borrows it on the 9th and brings it back on the 10th, the morning of the 10th, which she is saying was abnormal. It was weird. She thought it was going to be gone for 2 hours and it was gone for much longer. So that is essentially what she's saying. If you can't hear, because she is speaking really low.
This morning.
Was this normal, abnormal,
No, not normal.
not normal? Okay. And did Mr. Butts say what he was doing when he had your car?
No.
Okay. Did you notice anything different about or in your car after his use that first time?
No.
Okay. Did you notice anything in the back seat that was different?
There was a pair of glasses that was left that my son was playing with at the time.
Okay. And I'm going to show you. In People's Exhibit 11, photo 37.
Yes, it definitely
Where at would your son be sitting?
seems like he borrowed her car to do his crimes. But it just, him having a car is what was confusing. But it definitely seemed like her car was involved, although they checked it, it seems, and nothing was found in there. But yeah.
On the passenger side,
Okay, in the passenger.
on the back seat.
So, you can kind of see it better in photo 41. He would sit behind the passenger seat.
Yes.
Okay. What describe the glasses that he was playing with?
I believe they were clear around the frame part. I don't know what the ends look like, but I do remember they were clear around the frames.
Okay. And I want to show you what's already been introduced as People's Exhibit 12.
Yes.
Is there anything in People's Exhibit 12 that you recognize?
The glasses.
Okay. How is it that you recognize those glasses?
They were clear just like that. The one my son was playing with.
Okay. Now, you said your son was playing with them in the back seat. How did you get them from your son?
I told him to give them to me because I didn't know whose glasses they were.
Okay. How is it that you come to ask Jarvis about these glasses?
Well, my son was playing with them when I was with Jarvis at his shop.
And I guess
The next day, I went to the shop, and my son, picking my son up from school. Jarvis was see his daughter, and my son was playing back with the glasses.
okay. From when Jarvis had borrowed your car and returned it to you picking up your son from school, had anybody else borrowed your car?
No.
Okay. So you're at the shop. You see your son playing with the glasses. You take them from him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Now tell me what does Jarvis do?
He snatched them from me and said those were his son's glasses.
Okay. Okay. And do you think anything of this at the time?
No, I just thought that was his sunglasses because he said he was taking his son somewhere in the car.
Now, the second time that Jarvis asked to use your car, you said that was either the day after or the next day.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about how that comes to happen.
Well, he comes to my house when he get off work. He comes by to get my car. Said he needs to use it again for his son. I said okay, and he said he wasn't going to be gone for that long like he was the time before. I said okay. He was only gone for like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
Okay. And are those the only 2 times that he ever used your car?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Were there times that he would be in your car with you?
Yes.
That you would take in places?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had any contact with Jarvis since he turned himself in on February 7th of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that through?
Phone calls, get out, text, app.
Okay.
Ms.
And-
Johnson, you need to pull that microphone off the ledge. Yeah, that way I can hear you.
It was her. I just told y'all she tells
Do you
somebody, hey,
recall, a phone call in which Jarvis asked you some things about your vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And you've heard that call before?
Yes.
Okay. And was that call that I played for you, is that a fair and accurate depiction of the call that you had with
Yes.
Jarvis and him asking you about the car?
Yes.
No, I move for the admission of people's proposed exhibit 13.
Any objection?
No objection.
And
Okay.
Your Honor, may I publish?
Yeah, it'll be admitted as People's Exhibit 13, and you can publish. Can I also see Exhibit 12 when you get a moment?
Yes, Judge.
Mayor.
Yes.
And for the record, this phone call is 6 minutes and 43 seconds long.
The call from
You didn't get what she
a
said?
union at Wayne County Jail. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. The inmate has requested that you pay for this call. If you don't wish to talk, hang up now. Thank you for using Tell Yeah.
Anyway, I got one more for you to do. 313-207-2195.
Hello.
Hello?
What is it?
207. 219.
217?
Huh?
217?
0.
Hello?
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 Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know what the fuck going on, man, but yeah, they done did everybody shit.
You said what?
I said, I don't know what the fuck going on, but they done did everybody shit.
Everybody shit. You on everybody house? They come to my shit? I don't even think they know of me.
But I need you to, anything that I have, anything that I touch. That's for yourself, man. Anything about me, man. That's for your goddamn self. You feel me?
Yeah.
Huh?
Serious.
Yeah, so just say go to my house.
Go on.
Yeah. Go to my house, man.
Alright. How you calling me?
My house, I'm doing something I ain't supposed to be doing, but go to my house, man. I'm sorry.
Huh?
Go to my house, get my car.
You in her car?
You gotta go home, use her car.
Okay. So don't use my car at all?
I don't know what's going on, bro. They're taking everything out, bro. Use your mama car, man, and drive around, man, trying to put yourself with your mama car, man. Your brother carries somebody's car. This shit is beyond.
Okay.
This is beyond, man. I don't know what this fuck, man. Clean them motherfuckers up, something. I don't know.
My car?
Yeah, they got my phone, they got my car, they got their cars, they got their guns, I don't know what the fuck they do, bro. Yeah, but what the fuck did that got shit to do with me is what I'm saying. I got shit to do with me, man, and I'm not understanding what the fuck is going on, you feel me? I'll call you later, man. Like, I don't know what's going on around this shit, though. This shit's starting to piss me off.
Okay.
I'll get in touch with you later, man.
Okay.
All right. Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
I know sometimes these comments are blocking it. Somebody said that, so sorry about that. But he's asking her because he drove her car. He asked her to wipe it down. He's telling her to go to her mom's house, don't drive her car. Yeah, but particularly he's telling her to wipe everything I touched, anything doing with me. He's telling her to wipe it down.
Mm-hmm.
You got just done your regular job?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My regular job. 6:45.
I'll call you about 7:30.
Alright. 22.
You know, What is
I should make this a poll, but if somebody is caught up in jail regarding a crime and they ask you to wipe everything they touch down, me personally, I'm calling the police. I'm going to tell them to listen. He just told me, especially concerning a child that has gone missing.
what did you think when Jarvis told you those things?
I didn't know what to think when he told me those things.
What did you do in response to receiving this call, if anything?
Nothing.
Okay. Did you clean anything up?
No.
Did you wipe anything down?
No.
Okay. And that would be in your house?
Yes. House, car,
Car?
everything.
Okay.
Didn't touch it. Nothing.
All right. So, just to clarify a little bit, Jarvis borrowed your car on the 9th,
Yes.
brought it back the 10th in the morning,
Yes.
Did-
Yeah.
about 6 a.m. or so, or in the
Yeah.
morning,
In the morning, about 8:30, 8 o'clock.
8:30. All
I
right.
was taking my son to school.
Okay. And did he borrow it later that day again or the next day?
I can't remember if it was later that day or the next day. I just know he did it again.
Okay. I think they're good.
Good afternoon. And you indicated that you knew Mr. Butts since 2019,
Yes.
correct? You met him at the shop, correct?
Yes.
At his shop.
Yes.
Would you describe your relationship with him as a
Whole.
I'm sorry?
He said as a whole, we do.
Would you describe it as a physical relationship or was it a real relationship?
It was a physical relationship.
Okay, so you knew Mr. Butts was seeing other people, correct?
Yes.
All right, so that's not a surprise to you,
No.
correct?
The fact that he lied to me, that's a surprise.
Okay.
About
So he would tell you he was coming over and you wouldn't know where he was coming from, correct?
yes,
That's nothing new.
that's one thing.
Okay. Do you know, besides your daughter with Mr. Butts, do you know Mr. Butts' other children?
I met quite a few of them.
Okay. Have you met any of the other mothers?
About two in the beginning of the relationship we had. He introduced me to about 2 or 3 of the mothers.
Okay. And have you had any issues with the mothers?
No.
Okay. So you know Mr. Butts works as a mechanic, correct?
Yes.
And have you ever seen him wearing safety glasses in the shop?
Yes.
Okay. Safety glasses are clear, aren't they?
They're not those.
They're not.
They're not the kinds that I've seen. No.
Okay. So he borrowed your car on the 9th, correct?
Yes.
And you said he came over around 9 p.m.
Yes.
All right. When he came over 9 p.m., was there anything out of the ordinary that you noticed?
No.
Okay. Did you have a conversation with him that day?
We swapped out cars. We had a quick swap out cars, and he was gone.
And there was no other conversation
No.
that day? You didn't notice anything about his appearance?
No.
Didn't notice anything about his demeanor?
No.
Okay. And you say he came back the next day?
Yes.
All right.
The next morning.
Could he have dropped your car off later that night? I mean, earlier that night?
No, he did not.
He didn't drop it off at, say, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning?
No, he did not.
Okay. And you said that your son, and forgive me, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but there was a lot of things in this car.
Mhm.
Is that the condition the car always was in?
I mean, my son have his toys. There's always stuff in there, yes.
Okay.
But it's only my kids' stuff that be in my car because me and my kids are the only people that really be in my car, or my mother.
Okay. And your testimony is Jarvis Butt, prior to the night, had never been in this car before?
Oh, no, he's been in my car.
Okay.
He's been in my car. I take him places.
Okay. So your son finds the glasses,
Yes.
correct? And you say he finds the glasses, this would be on the 10th? He finds the glasses?
Yes, either the next day or whenever. I don't remember what day, but I know the next day. It was the next day we went over. Yes, it was.
So you're not sure what day the glasses were
I'm
found?
not sure what day the glasses was found because I went to his job twice
Okay.
after that. So I don't know which day. I don't know if it was the 10th or the 11th.
So it could have been either day.
Yes,
All right.
but
And
it was in my car.
so your son was playing with these glasses.
Yes,
There was nothing remarkable about these glasses, correct?
they were just clear glasses.
And so you couldn't identify the glasses and say, hey, these glasses were smaller than a normal pair of glasses. These must be a pair of kids' glasses, right? You couldn't say that,
He
correct?
said they were his son glasses. So, is he saying as his son, that would mean it was a kid glasses, right?
Okay. So he said they were his son's glasses.
Yes.
And
Mr. Robo.
I'm sorry.
Only because I saw a few people asking. So this is the mother of one of his kids, his 2-year-old daughter, I think she said. This is not the aunt that makes him her Naziah's uncle, right? That's not she is in no way related to Naziah. This is another woman that he has a child with. This is not from Naziah's family.
Take your time. You sure? I got a hard, you want one right there? Oh, okay, I got you. It's- Okay, Mr. Ricketts? Go right ahead.
All right. So you said your son was playing with the glasses, correct? And you took the glasses from your son, correct?
Yes.
And what did you do with them once you took them?
He was playing with them when I was up there with Jarvis. When I took them from him and said, "Do not your glasses," Jarvis took them from my hand.
Okay. So you didn't examine these glasses, correct?
I looked at him on his face when he was playing with them on his face.
Okay.
So how can I not examine these glasses when I'm looking at my son with these glasses on his face?
You didn't study these glasses, correct?
No, I didn't study these glasses,
Okay.
but they were clear and they were on my son's face.
So later on, you showed a picture of Naziah Harris, correct?
Yes.
And you saw her wearing clear glasses as well, correct?
Yes.
At the time you saw her with the glasses, did anyone tell you that she was missing?
Yes, they did.
Were
When they
you
showed me the picture.
were you aware that she was missing?
From the news?
Okay. And were you aware that Mr. Butts was a suspect?
No,
Okay.
not at the time, until they came to my door.
Okay. So when you told them that these glasses, you saw glasses similar to this.
I didn't tell them then.
Okay.
I didn't know about that until after.
All right.
It took me a minute to think about the glasses
So you came back and told them later,
when they came to my house.
okay, that you saw a pair of glasses in your car.
Yes,
And the best you can say is that these glasses may be similar, correct?
they maybe was similar.
Right.
Yes.
You cannot testify that these are the exact same glasses, correct?
No, I cannot testify those are the exact same glasses.
Can you tell whether the glasses had prescription lenses in them?
I didn't put them on my face, sir, so how
So-
do I know?
Did your son say anything about that?
No, how would he know? He said he was, what, 6, 7, 5 at the time. So how would he know what prescription glasses are?
You wearing prescription glasses, right?
Yes,
If you take them off, you see differently, correct?
yes, but I did not put the glasses on.
Yeah.
So how will I know they were prescription glasses if I didn't wear them?
My
My
question
son
was,
wore the glasses, so how am I supposed to know? I don't have his eyes.
did your son say anything about the
No.
glasses? He didn't
He
say
was
that.
playing with the glasses, and I told him to take the glasses off because we didn't know who glasses they were.
Okay.
I didn't know if they were prescription, so I told him to take them off. When he take them off, he handed to me. Oh, Jarvis said, "Oh, those are my sunglasses," and he snatches it from my hand.
Okay. And what did Jarvis do with the glasses?
I don't know. He went towards his car.
Okay. You didn't think anything else of the glasses, did you?
No,
Okay.
all he said was those were his sunglasses at the time.
You're employed,
Yes.
all right. And your Nissan, was that your primary mode of transportation?
No.
That was a secondary car?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't drive my car. I use my mom's car when I'm working.
So is the Nissan your car?
Yes, it's my car.
Okay. And Mr. Butts called you and told you to drive someone else's car?
Yep.
All right. Just one moment.
For context, she is currently being questioned by Jarvis Butt's attorney. So this attitude she's having is with Jarvis Butt's attorney. And of course, his job is to provide reasonable doubt, to poke holes. That's why he is asking her about these glasses, because she is essentially alluding to, right, saying that Jarvis borrowed my car the day that Naziah went missing. When he returned the car, there's glasses in there that look like the glasses that Naziah had on her face. That is essentially why the state called her, to tell that part of the story. And so he is trying to poke holes in that. Are they adult glasses? Could they have been, adult and not kids? And that's why she's getting this attitude. They were kids' glasses. He has a son. If he said it's his son glasses, that means that they are kids' glasses. Do I drive? Yes, I drive other cars. So she is getting an attitude. It seems like he is trying to poke holes in her story, and she may be getting frustrated in that. No, I found these glasses. He snatched them. He said they were his son's. He borrowed my car the day she went missing. When he returned them, that's what was in there. So just context as to, kind of what's happening.
So when he told you that, you didn't do anything, right?
No.
You didn't think anything of it,
No.
correct? You didn't clean out this car, correct?
No.
So anything of Mr. Butts would still be in this car, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes, Judge. Ms. Johnson, you were asked about knowing that Mr. Butts was seeing other women.
Yes.
You said he lied about things.
Yes.
What did he lie about?
About how many women, and he was still dealing with the women.
Okay.
everything, pretty much.
Okay, so you didn't, fair to say you wouldn't know how many women were out there?
Yes.
And did you know that he would be dealing with women at the same time as he was dealing with you?
Indiana,
Yes.
I'm going to object at this point. I'm not sure what the relevance of that is as to this. How many women he's dealing with?
It goes
Do you have a
to,
response?
yeah, it goes to whether or not he would be like whether he's secretive about things, whether he would know about.
He's very secretive.
1 second, Ms. Johnson.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay, 1 second.
I mean, that was really that was really the extent of the
It
questions.
was asking across how
Yeah.
many women he slept with
Yeah,
and whether she knew.
wanted to get that was really the extent of the questions.
Okay, well, ask the question again.
Just was he a secretive person to you?
Yes, he's very secretive.
And when he told you a reason why he wanted to use your car, did you have any reasons to think that that might not be true?
I honestly thought it was for his son. So, whenever he says anything about his kids, I believe him when it comes to his kids. I thought he was a great father to his kids. That's what he put on to me, but
Okay, so that's what he led you to believe.
yeah.
Nothing further, Judge.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a couple of follow-up questions.
Go ahead.
Now, you said that he was secretive, correct?
Yes,
And that's when it came to women, correct?
yes.
That bothered you, correct?
I mean, it would bother anyone when a man is supposed to be telling you the truth and he being really secretive about everything. And you being honest with them.
So you were upset about that.
Honesty.
So you were upset about that, correct?
About him being with other women, cheating? Not really, because I was doing it too. How about that?
You all gotta be quiet.
No further questions.
Any last questions? Ms.
No,
Johnson? Okay, you're done, Ms. Johnson. Okay, is that the last witness for today?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, anything else that needs to go on the record before we end today?
Not for the people that think.
Not from the defense.
Okay, we're off the record.
Why she say now about that? Ma'am, this is about a missing child. This is not about y'all cheating relationship, how y'all are cheating on each other. Keep the main thing the main thing. Y'all are losing focus now. She over here mad that he was cheating on her. Okay, so that was the ending of this session, right? Which was, again, the mother of one of his kids. The next one I think we should go to is his fiance, because he also had a fiance. That's probably why she is upset. Is the fiance. So let me pull that one up. And then give me a second. That one is here. Oh, let's leave that up. Yes, this is a good point. Simply Mia saying, I think she caught that they were implying she is mad, so she's lying on him. Which I do agree. It seems like that's the route the defense attorney was trying to take. That she was upset, and so that's why she would be triggered to say, I wasn't mad about that. I was doing it too. But yeah, there's a lot. Oh, Mistiff is saying, I think she's upset that she was placed in this situation. He had a lot of people fooled at first, and I'm sure she was too. You know what? I can understand that, everyone being involved as a result of him. And if you don't know, I don't. Who knows what she knew, especially for her to say that she thought he was a great father. given the history, at least that we know now, hindsight's always 2020, but given the history about him that we all know now, it's like, but people are able to, if he gave one of his kids chlamydia though, let me not get distracted. All right, let's go. Let's go to fiance.
Give the court reporter your name right here, and then I'll swear you in. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes. Watch your step.
I think this is a good point. Aaliyah saying, I don't think she knew anything, but it seems like a lot of signs were ignored. I could see that being the case because realistically, right, when stuff is flashing, red lights, red flags be all in your face across the board. And people will, if you want something bad enough, you will act like red flags are green, okay? And you will proceed. You will go and act like red is not stop. And so I could see things not adding up, but because you want something so bad, you just decide it's fine. He's amazing. I love him. And ignoring that kind of stuff. And again, hindsight is always 2020. And I'm not saying that's exactly what happened here. I'm not saying that's ever an excuse for any situation, but I just wanted to say, I can understand this point that sometimes people ignore things that they shouldn't ignore because they are so focused on what they want, that they choose to ignore things that they shouldn't.
And once you get situated, you can hold that whole microphone with the little white cap on it in your lap, or just link to it. Okay. Just tug it off of it.
May I proceed, Judge?
Yes.
Thank you. Could you state your name for the record, ma'am?
Tashiana Davis.
And Ms. Davis, I want to ask you about someone by the name of Jarvis Butts. Do you know that person?
Yes,
And how do you know Mr. Butts?
he was my fiance.
And do you see Mr. Butts in the courtroom today?
Yes,
Could you point to him and identify a piece of clothing that he's wearing?
she's right there with a green top on.
For the record, the witness has identified the defendant, Jarvis Butts, in this matter.
So reflective.
Thank you. And how long, you said he was your fiance.
Yes,
How long in total have you known Mr. Butts?
4 years,
And-
since 2019.
2019?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes,
And when did you become engaged?
2023.
And can you tell us a little bit about the nature of that relationship? Do you have any children with him? Things like that.
No children.
Okay. And would Mr. Butts sometimes stay over at your house?
Yes.
How often would that happen?
Pretty often, but we didn't live together.
I want to take your attention back to January of 2024 and February of 2024. Did there come a time when Jarvis Butts asked you to drive him to court?
Yes,
And when was that?
February 7th.
Of 24?
Yes,
And was there a time before that that you had to drive him to court?
yes.
And when was that?
January, I think it was the 9th.
Okay.
It was in January.
So you've at least driven him to court twice?
Yes.
And let's talk about the January 9th date that you drove him. What was the reason he wasn't driving himself? Why were you driving him?
Because he thought he was gonna have to turn himself in then for another case, and then they rescheduled it.
Okay, so on the 9th, he was supposed to turn himself in, but didn't actually end up doing that.
Correct.
Okay. And then on the 7th, did he ask you to drive him to court again?
Yes,
And what was the reason that you drove him to court on the 7th?
because he was supposed to turn himself in.
And did he end up turning himself in on the 7th?
Yes.
Okay. When you were driving him on the 7th of February 2024, first, what kind of car do you?
Just a little bit of context again. As for if you watch some of the live yesterday, and you remember we were kind of talking about the fact that what was leading up to Nazaya going missing. She had been texting him that she's pregnant, right? That was like October or November. I think it was October of the previous year. And what he is just asking her about is that On January 9th, he was supposed to be turning himself in. She's saying she drove him up there. He was supposed to be turning himself in. That's the reason she drove him. But he later goes back to court on February 7th, and that's when he turns himself in. And so again, what we were saying yesterday is she's pregnant. This child is pregnant by him, is what the state is saying. And he's about to turn himself in and be in jail for a period of time. What happens if he's in jail and Naziah is out in the streets pregnant? And so he ends up not going to jail on January 9th. It gets moved to February 7th. And then he takes that day, is what the state is saying, to get rid of her. So that's the important context that is being made here.
You drive.
2005 Suburban,
And what color is it?
tan,
And when you were driving him to court, who else was with you, if anyone?
nobody,
Just you and Mr. Butts?
yes,
And when you were driving him to court, did you ask him about his cell phone?
yes.
What did you ask him?
I said, where's your phone?
And what was his response when you asked him that question?
He left it at home.
And did you have any other conversation regarding his phone on the 7th when you were driving him to court?
No,
And what did he, you said he did turn himself in?
yes,
And so you drove back home, correct?
yes,
Did you eventually have some contact with the police department?
yes,
And where were you when you had that contact?
in the hospital.
And what did they ask you about generally?
Did I know anything about a missing child?
And do you know anything about missing child?
No.
Did they ask you about his cell phone?
Yeah, I believe so.
And did you know or have any reason to believe, other than what Jarvis told you, that his phone was someplace else?
No,
And did you know that his phone was in your car?
no,
Did you give permission to the police to search your car?
no, they just came and took it.
They had a search warrant?
Yeah.
Oh. And were you present at your house when they came and took your car?
No,
And did you observe them search through your car and pull anything out?
no.
Oh. May I have one moment, Judge?
Yes.
And you said you knew Jarvis Fiance for 4 years?
Yes,
And would you communicate with him via cell phone?
yes.
And do you know the last 4 digits of his phone number, if you remember?
Nine,
If you don't
I
remember,
don't remember.
okay. With looking at text messages, refresh your memory?
Yes,
May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
If you could just look at the phone numbers on it.
the first one.
And does that refresh your memory?
Yes,
And what were the last 4 digits of Jarvis Fiance's phone number?
8719.
At some point after you dropped Jarvis Fiance off at the courthouse and he turned himself in, did you go to his place of employment on at 9000 Connors?
No,
Okay, did you ever talk to his business partner, Cordell Wright?
no.
Okay. I have nothing further to say.
Morning, Ms. Davis. You met Mr. Butts at Frank's Garage, is that right?
Yes,
And that's where Mr. Butts was working about 4 years ago.
yes,
You were taking your car there,
yes,
and I think in your words, you said you kind of never left after you met him. Is that
Right.
fair to say?
yes,
You guys got along really well,
yes,
and you just kind of started a relationship from there.
yes,
Would you go up to the garage after that relationship started,
yes,
kind of just to drop in?
yes.
At any point in time while you were at Frank's Garage, did you ever see any children there?
No.
Is it fair to say that Mr. Butts was very protective of his phone around you?
Yes,
He would never let you see his phone screen?
No.
Wouldn't give you access?
No.
Certainly didn't give you his passcode or anything? In fact, you actually actively tried to get into his phone, right?
yes,
I think you had mentioned that when he was sleeping, you tried to kind of wave it in front of him to see if
Yes.
that would unlock it.
Mhm.
You took a picture of his face once and tried to
Yes,
put the screens together. So you wanted to know what was in his phone.
yes,
And he did not want you to know what was in his phone,
no,
as far as you know?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
yes.
Did you ever talk to him about why he was so secretive with his phone?
Yes,
And does it have something to do with the fact that he was seeing other ladies?
yes,
And you suspected that at the time,
yes,
and so that's why you were looking for proof?
correct.
Okay.
I just need to call out. Trying to unlock his phone while he's sleeping with his face and it don't work, first of all. And then secondly, trying to take a picture of his face and trying to then use that as the thing. Girl, you was doing a lot. If you doing all of that and you still aren't able to get in, you should just cut your losses, honey. Cut your losses.
So even though you suspected that Mr. Butts was unfaithful to you, you still stayed with him.
Yes,
One reason for that is because he was good with the kids.
yes,
He cared for your kids.
yes,
He took them places.
yes,
He took your son up to the shop.
yes,
He showed him how to change the oil in the car.
correct.
And you viewed him as a good father figure.
Yes,
Did you ever see anything inappropriate or that would cause you to see a red flag with regard to him and your children?
no,
Did you ever see him acting inappropriately with any other children?
no,
Certainly, if you had, you would not have allowed him in your house.
oh,
Fair to say?
absolutely not.
You knew that Mr. Butts had other children, right?
Yes,
With a woman named Angel
yes,
and a woman named Shannon.
yes,
He talked about his children with you.
yes,
Did he ever talk to you about his niece?
no,
About how often would Mr. Butts stay with you on any given week?
maybe like twice,
Were they like the same days or was it random?
random.
About what time would he come over?
After his work hours, after like 6 o'clock.
Okay, so you think he would come kind of straight from work?
No, he would probably do something else and then be there later on in the night.
Okay, so closer to like 9, 10?
Yes.
Okay. Would he stay the night with you?
Till about 2 o'clock in the morning, 3, and then he would leave.
Okay. Do you know how he would get to your home?
A couple of times he was in a white truck, a white Cadillac truck. Sometime I think he would walk. If he was coming straight from the shop, he would walk. Or if he had my truck, that's how we would get back and forth.
And that's the Suburban.
Yes,
Did you know Mr. Butts to ever have his own vehicle?
yes. He had a white Chrysler truck, van like.
Okay. And when did you know him to drive that?
Like maybe the first 2 years we were together.
Okay. Now, when Mr. Butts would come visit you, would he park in your driveway?
Yes,
Would he spend weekends with you also?
yes.
1 second.
Not checking if he got no. He ain't got nothing to add.
Ms. Davis, I just have a couple more questions for you. Ms. Quick asked you about Mr. Butts being secretive with his phone. Can you tell me about a time that you had a conversation with him about him being secretive or something like that?
He would never really say anything. He talked in circles. So if you try to ask him a question, it's just always, you can never get a straight answer out of him.
But fair enough, you had multiple conversations about his phone and your access to it, I guess, or lack thereof.
Yes,
And Ms. Quick also asked you about Mr. Butts staying over the night or staying the night at your house. You said that he would leave around 2 a.m.
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Do you know where he would go when he would leave?
No.
Did he ever tell you where he was going?
Home.
Did you know where he himself called home?
Yes.
Where was that at?
Wilshire.
And you said he would walk from his place of employment if he was coming straight from there, right?
Yes.
How far from that
Um,
on Connors, the auto shop on Connors, do you live? How far of a walk?
no, that was when he was on Warren.
Warren and Neff?
Yes.
How far of a walk from that location?
Like 4 blocks.
And did you ever see him drive but not park in your driveway or out front of
Yes.
your house? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
He parked around the corner and he would walk to my house.
And do you
He
know,
was in the white Cadillac truck.
you said Cadillac?
Yes.
Was that an Escalade? If you know.
I don't know.
And do you know the reason why he would park around the corner?
I don't know. I asked and he would just be like, I didn't drive.
But then would you see his truck?
I was in the truck.
You have one moment, George?
Yes.
One last question. You said he lived or called home on Wilshire?
Yes.
Have you ever been to that house?
Yes.
Have you ever been inside that house?
No.
No, you're with that.
Okay, Ms. Davis, you are done testifying.
So that was his ex-fiance that was at his fiance at the time. And again, I think the relevance of her testimony outside of just being his fiance and him doing weird crap about being secretive about his phone and parking around the corner and saying he didn't drive, like outside of all of that, the big takeaway from her testimony is the connection to the fact that January 9th, he was supposed to be turning himself in and would be in jail for an extended period of time. That was moved. So he was, what the state is getting at is that he was inching towards this point of no return in which he would be in jail and Naziah would be out in the world pregnant, and that could create a problem for him. So that is, I think, the biggest takeaway. Somebody asked a question about if I know what he has on the 16th or 17th. Oops, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Somebody also asked about if his attorney is a hired attorney. And I'm just showing you this page because it appears as though his, so you see defendant Jarvis Butts, it appears as though his attorneys are court appointed. So they are not private attorneys that he hired. These are court appointed attorneys. And then the other thing I wanted to show is, hold on, it's this one. Okay, let me just show you this before we keep going. Somebody was asking if I know why he has court on the 16th. I think at the end she says 16th, but it looks like it may be moved to the 17th. And some people were commenting like his trial starting on the 16th. It's not. The 17th, you see it says calendar conference. So he has a calendar. And if you look up, you can see like, hold on, just so you know kind of what's happening as we're reading this. So you see the pre-exam hearing, right? This is Judge, I don't know if it's Sabri or Sabri, but that's the judge that we're watching who's doing all this. So you see all of this, right? This is what we are watching. Okay, so it's the same case. And then you see here, January 17, 2025, he has a calendar conference with another judge because the judge who oversees the preliminary this preliminary hearing is not the judge that will oversee the actual trial. So what is coming up on the 17th is not the trial date. There could be a trial scheduled on that date, but that is not when the trial is going to start, just FYI. only because some people were asking me, and I just wanted to show the document so you guys can kind of follow along what I'm saying. I want to jump to one of the witnesses talks about how she discovered Nazia's school ID, but I wasn't going to go to her. I wanted to go to the school office. I thought I had it marked. Is it this one? Where did it go? Is it, that's closing. Sorry, give me a second. Definitely not that one. So it must be this one. Oh, is it here? Sorry. Only because he talks about getting the case and when it got sent over. Okay, I have to find it. Somebody, Mel, he has about 4. Yes, he does. I know he has more than just that case. I just wanted to show the case that he has. The one for this one. Ms. Tiff is saying it's split up because of it being multiple victims. Yes. How come I can't find the school officer? Where was it? If anyone, it was closer to, let me go back to this day. It wasn't that day. Oh man. It's because some of this is interjected with the California fires. Oh, here it is. Okay, goodness. Okay, I found it. Let me check what y'all are saying before I play it. Sorry, you guys hear a bunch of clicking. Let me just see what you guys are saying. Nothing really. Okay, hiding behind attorneys with that mask on. All right, so this is going to be, as I was saying yesterday, the case, and I didn't lay this out fully in the recap, but what happens if you tuned in yesterday, you know that Nazaya didn't come home on January 9th as she was expected to. Her family says that they did their own searches, but they don't alert any law enforcement, any authorities. They wait until the next morning when grandmother is dropping the kids off. Then she tells the school. The school has the case for about a month before it is turned over to the police. Okay. And once the police get access to the case on, I think it's on Valentine's Day, the very next day, they do a search. She calls out for a search. But before that happens, again, it was with the school police. And so this witness I wanted to show because he is from the school. And so getting the context from the school when they had it, what was happening, I think is helpful just in piecing the story together.
Oh,
This one tells you no truth and nothing but the truth.
yes, ma'am.
May I proceed, Judge?
Yes.
Could you state your name for the record, sir?
George Harris.
And just like that. Without breaking it.
You can put it. You can just take it off the ledge too. It's easy.
And what do you do currently for a living, sir?
I'm a school safety liaison.
And going back to January of 2024, where were you employed at that time?
Detroit Public Schools Police.
And what did you do for the Detroit Public Schools Police Department at that time?
I was a lieutenant.
And assigned to an investigative division or something else?
I was in charge of the Western Patrol Division and our intelligence unit.
Okay. And did that include, at least on the intelligence unit side, some investigatory roles?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And were you involved in the disappearance and homicide investigation into Nazaya Harris?
Yes, I was.
And how did you become involved in that, sir?
The initial report came in that she was missing. A detective was assigned to it. She liaisoned back to me that Nazaya had a social media account and had communicated through text now. So anytime there was a cyber-related nexus or anything having to do with cell phones or digital communications, I was the person who had handled it with the district for years.
And what is the reason you would handle the sort of cyber or internet portions of investigations?
I have the training and experience.
And as part of the investigation, did you do an initial search warrant to TextNow?
Yes,
Okay, and did you get an initial return for that?
yes,
Okay, and were those from the dates of January 8th, 2024 to January 26th, 2024, if you remember?
that sounds
Sounds
correct.
about right?
Yes,
Okay. It didn't go back before January 8th at that time, correct?
that's correct.
I will come back to that in a second, but the initial agency investigating Nazaya's case, was that Detroit Public Schools Police Department?
That's correct.
Right, and when did that investigation begin?
January 9th, her grandmother reported her missing. One of our officers, Officer Wolf, I believe it was, went out to the school, took the report. Canvas was done. Detective Gardner was assigned to the case. And then from there, she liaisoned with me, and I started making my notifications and started working on it from the.
You said January 9th the report was made?
The 10th, I'm sorry.
The 10th? Okay. So that's when the investigation began, and that's when you became notified of this case, correct?
Correct.
And did the investigation stay with the Detroit Public Schools Police Department for the entirety of until today?
No.
When was it transferred and to who was it transferred?
It was transferred to Sergeant Shannon Jones sometime I don't remember the exact date, but it was later in January, maybe early February.
So
Were we getting closer to that 30-day mark?
around a month?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the reason it was transferred to DPD?
There have been no sightings, nothing had been heard from her. At that point, the other agencies that I brought in, we ended up shipping it over once. We received some more calls from DPD. The commander of the 5th Precinct had called me, and we just got together with Detroit, my chief and I, and the deputy chief, and then they decided they were going to take it over because it appeared that she was not going to be recovered alive.
Okay, and in the course, to your knowledge of the initial investigation by the Detroit Public Schools Department, was there any activity from Neziah on social media after January 9th?
Not from Neziah, no.
Now, you said earlier that after it was transferred to the Detroit Police Department, did you receive a call regarding, from Sergeant Jones regarding a request to confirm an ID that was found, a school ID?
Yes.
Okay, and did you receive a copy of that picture of the ID to confirm it?
Yes.
Okay. And the picture that was sent to you, did you confirm that as Neziah Harris' grade 8 identification card? If you don't remember.
I'm not sure
Okay.
what grade she was in, but yeah, it was her identification card.
I just want to call out what he said is that, right, he had the case. There were no sightings, no updates, right, from January 10th when it was reported. And then he said, and then DPD called me and we got together and decided to turn it over. They were doing nothing on this case. It is how it sounds to me. They were doing nothing. And I think what happened on it seems like something particularly happened on Valentine's Day, so unrelated to what this Jarvis's sister was saying. But February 14th, I think Jarvis's sister called the police, and then the police called the school to say, what's up with this? What's going on? And then they were like, and so they did a search the next day because DPD was like, we're taking over this case. We're going to go search for that girl. That is how I am taking in this information. That is my perspective right now. And as I was listening, this is a rewatch for me. So maybe other things will pop out. But the school had the case for about a month. And he literally there were no sightings, nothing on her social media. And then DPD called him. He didn't call DPD to be like, hey, we haven't gotten no movement on this. DPD called the school to say, what's up? And then we got together and then they took it over.
May I approach it?
Yes.
Approaching with what's already been admitted as Exhibit 40. Does that look similar to what you were asked to confirm?
Yes.
And that one did you go into the school system to confirm that was Neziah's ID?
Through an intermediary, but yes.
Okay. And in the bottom corner of one of that, it says grade 8, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes. And you had said earlier that you did an initial search warrant to text now to receive some messages, correct?
It started out as exigent circumstance request, but yes.
Okay. And may I approach again?
Yes.
Just the last page. I'm approaching with what's already been admitted as Exhibit 16.
Let me also say, because I've seen that Ray is saying Neziah's father said that the grandmother, Annette, reported it as a runaway instead of a missing persons case, which is why it wasn't escalated to a more serious matter, which could be the case. What is shocking for me is for the school, whether it was reporting as runaway or whatever, if they are not making progress, to not then alert an authority higher than theirs to say something should be done. And that is why, obviously, we'll get to the judge at the end, but when she says everybody around this child failed her, including the school, because how are you notified of a child, regardless of what the circumstances are, but if you hear nothing And then if you're told that this is not normal, it's just bizarre to me that that is not, that the school doesn't escalate it. The school, like where does your capabilities stop as the school police? And maybe the school police is the same. It doesn't seem like they're same level as police. So it's like at some level your capabilities stop and it should be turned over to an authority bigger than yours, bigger than you.
And if you could take a look at that, I'm handing you the last page of Exhibit 16. Does that look familiar to you, sir?
Yes,
And are those some of the messages that you got from the search warrant that you did to text them?
yes,
And are there on that page that you're holding 3 highlighted ones on the bottom of that message or of that page?
yes,
And the first highlighted one, is there a number associated with whether that it was sent or received from or to?
yes.
And can you read that number for the court, please?
313-585-8719.
And was the first message that's highlighted there, was that a sent or received message?
It was a sent message.
Indicating that it came from the owner of the Text Now account, correct?
Correct.
And what does that message say?
Don't forget to be there before 3. I will let you know when I'm leaving school. If you're not there, I will wait.
And to be clear, the owner of the account that you did a search warrant on, you believe to be Neziah Harris, correct?
That is correct.
I don't know if y'all caught that, so I'm going to rewind just a second because he's reading a search warrant that was obtained for Neziah's stuff, and that there's this text message which is between Neziah and Jarvis about leaving school, be there, pick me up, blah blah blah. So I'm going to rewind just a second so you can hear it and get the full context.
Search warrant that you did to text that. And if you could take a look at that, I'm handing you the last page of Exhibit 16. Does that look familiar to you, sir?
Yes,
And are those some of the messages that you got from the search warrant that you did to text them?
yes,
And there are messaging the school system to confirm that that was Neziah's ID.
through an intermediary, but yes.
Okay. And in the bottom corner of one of that, it says grade 8, correct?
Yes, it does.
And you had said earlier that you did an initial search warrant to Text Now to receive some messages, correct?
It started out as exigent circumstance request, but yes.
And may I approach again?
Yes.
Just the last page of the one. I'm approaching with what's already been admitted as Exhibit 16. And if you could take a look at that, I'm handing you the last page of Exhibit 16. Does that look familiar to you, sir?
Yes,
And are those some of the messages that you got from the search warrant that you did to text them?
yes,
And are there on that page that you're holding 3 highlighted ones on the bottom of that message or of that page?
yes.
And the first highlighted one, is there a number associated with whether that it was sent or received from or to?
Yes.
And can you read that number for the court, please?
313-585-8719.
And was the first message that's highlighted there, was that a sent or received message?
It was a sent message.
Indicating that it came from the owner of the Text Now account, correct?
Correct.
And what does that message say?
Don't forget to be there before 3. I will let you know when I'm leaving school. If you're not there, I will wait.
And to be clear, the owner of the account that you did a search warrant on, you believe to be Neziah Harris, correct?
That is correct.
And then the second message down from that, second to last message on that page, is that a sent or received message?
It's a sent message.
And who is it sent to, the number?
313-585-8719.
And what does that message say?
Send okay if you send the message so I can delete your number.
And then the last message on that page first, is that a sent or received message to that account?
Received.
So the owner of the account would have received that message from someone else?
Yes.
And what's the number that sent the message to that Text Now account?
313-585-8719.
And what is that message?
Okay.
And what are the dates of those messages?
January 9th, 2024.
And when the owner of that account received that last message of okay, what date and time did she receive that on?
January 9th, 2024 at 14:23:10 UTC.
And the UTC would be 4 hours ahead at that time from the local time?
Correct.
Okay. And so that would have been at 10 a.m. or so?
That would have been 9:23
a.m.?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Okay, boss.
Is it, Sergeant Harris? I'm sorry.
It was Lieutenant
It was
Harris.
Lieutenant, I'm sorry. I want to get that right. So did you learn about this case through Detective Gardner? You learned about it from somewhere from the school, or how did it land on your desk? Can you?
So the grandmother went to the school called Officer Wolf, who works that area. And then whenever we have a missing student, we always dispatch a detective.
Okay, so it was Officer Wolf who was initially dispatched to the school
Correct.
to do kind of an initial intake or interview,
Yes.
so to speak. Okay. And you're familiar that he did that?
Yes, he generated a report and did that. And then Detective Adele Gardner took over from there.
So when Officer Harris,
Wolf.
Wolf came back with his report, he passed, essentially, the report indicated what he did on the case and then handed it off to Detective Gardner.
No, Detective Gardner responded to the scene before he even came back and did the report.
Okay, so Detective Gardner was also involved in some of the things that Officer Wolf did.
Yes,
In
the
terms of
canvassing and
canvassing.
talking to people, yes.
Okay, that's what I was going to get to next. So you're familiar that at least Detective Gardner and Officer Wolf went out to the 3 Mile Drive location at Cornwall where the bus stop was and canvassed that area.
Not just them, but other officers, yes.
Others too, okay. Did any of the officers in DPS interview the teacher that was in Nazai's class that day?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes, do you know who it was?
It would have been Detective Gardner.
And do you know if Detective Gardner has authored a report?
She would have case notes and interview statements of everybody she interviewed.
Okay. Did you follow up on anything that Officer Wolf did or that he left open in his report to do?
Not personally, I was just directing the efforts of Detective Gardner as whatever guidance she needed or help.
Okay. And one of the things that she requested of you was to do the search warrant for the text now.
The text now, Instagram.
Okay. And did you receive anything back from Instagram?
Yes, I received back to her Nazai's Instagram account
Okay.
information.
Okay. Now, ultimately, you came into possession of Nazai's laptop. Is that correct?
You talking about the one she uses at school?
Correct.
Yes.
And how did you take possession of that?
I sent Detective Gardner over to the school to pick it up.
It was at the school?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know where at the school?
With all the rest of the laptops the kids use.
Okay, so they leave the laptops there every day at the end of the day?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if anybody from your unit or searched anywhere in the classroom, like lockers or areas where like coats and other things, bags, backpacks, lunch boxes, that kind of thing are stored?
That would have been standard to have to search where her locker was, her classroom, any of that stuff.
It would have been.
We would
standard.
search the whole school to make sure that we found kids hiding in the school before they were going missing. So we would search the entire school, surrounding area, that route to and from school, things of that nature.
Can you say for sure that that was done here, or just that should have been done because
That
was,
should have been done.
okay? But you can't say for sure that you didn't do it.
I didn't go to the scene.
Okay. And you haven't read a report that indicated somebody else did it. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Okay. Now you also were shown a picture of Messiah's 8th grade ID card from the school.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know when that ID card was issued to Neziah?
Should have been the beginning of the school year.
So then it would have been end of August?
Yes, or, yeah, because we started before Labor Day again last year.
Okay. Other than the warrant and giving the laptop over to DPD, did you do anything else yourself in this case?
Yes.
What else?
Went back out to the school.
I personally am not aware of how Text Now works, but the Aunt Shannon was saying, she was asked, "Do you use Text Now?" And she was like, "I only use Text Now when my phone is off." So it seems like it's a texting, like a service, like a ability for you to be able to communicate with people that's like outside of your phone. So it doesn't seem like they needed to have the device, whereas he could just do a search warrant, which is what they're saying he did. He did a search warrant for her Text Now. So maybe it's so I'm not for sure. This is an assumption. Maybe it's associated with like an email address versus like a phone number. So if you do a search warrant with Text Now, hey Text Now, give me all of the information concerning the account associated with this email. Okay, so it's an internet phone service. It's an app you can text for free. So that's essentially what they were saying. He was able to get those text messages because it was sent through her Text Now with him. That is what they're saying.
Interviewed some students, got some more information from some of Neziah's friends, different from what they had given earlier. Spoke with her little sister, spoke with the grandmother, got the release for her dental records, picked up the toothbrush, went out on a couple more canvases, things of that nature.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you passed this case off, or your department passed this case off to DPD at about the 30-day mark.
Somewhere around there. It may have been a little after, because right around the 30-day mark is when I would have went and got the toothbrush, so we still had it then. Because you have to make that update in the system when you get close to the 30-day mark.
So the case was opened on January 10th, correct?
Correct.
And was it the 13th of February that you gave the laptop to the Detroit police? Do you recall?
That sounds about right, right around Valentine's Day.
Okay. And that would have been about the last thing that you did at that point?
Yes.
Okay. And that's right around a 30-day window, fair
Yeah,
to say?
a little bit past at that point.
Okay. Now is that 30-day window, is that kind of a standard protocol, or is there something that kind of where your jurisdiction kind of expires and you pass it on to a different agency?
I would say no, because I had been with the school police since 2011, and this was the first missing we hadn't recovered within a couple of days. So normally we would, continue on with our cases. But once it got to that point, once we suspect, it could be a possible homicide, then the jurisdiction goes back to Detroit. So that's.
I just need to be angry again, because what he just said is this is the first time we never recovered somebody. We usually recover them within the first few days. Okay, so this happens. She's not recovered within the first few days and you wait 30? This is a failure on the school's part. I want to express that this is insane, that this is a school police system, police whatever, and you wait 30 days for a missing child? Like, that is absurd to me. That is absurd. There should be consequences for them. That is a misstep on their part, a massive one. He just said it. Okay.
Kind of how we went.
Would it be fair to say that once you had kind of exhausted your tools?
I guess, yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Could you hand it off to a different agency before 30 days? Could you decide within 2 weeks, we aren't coming up with any leads, we should give this to a different agency for more assistance?
We could, yes.
I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Very briefly, Judge. Ms. Quick asked you about recovering a laptop. That was done in this case. Nazia's laptop was recovered, correct?
Yes.
And did you or did someone else or DPS recover a tablet that belonged to Nazia as well?
Yes.
Okay, and where was that recovered from? The school or somewhere else?
From the grandmother.
From the grandmother?
Yes.
And that would be Annette Harris?
Yes.
Another good.
Okay, you are done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Apparently, maybe this has changed at this point, but on the stand, the grandmother was asked if Nazia had run away before, and her answer was no. She was asked, how was she in school? She was amazing. She was asked, did you guys have a good relationship? According to her, she said yes, talked all the time. She'd be like, hey, Nana, I need to talk to you about this. That's all according to the grandmother. So she said this was not normal. This was out of the norm for her. Just to be clear, she was not a previous runaway, is what grandmama said on the stand. They have, oh, this is just I'll just play it. I included it in my recap, but.
Playing exhibit 49 from the beginning.
This is the video from Nazia getting off the bus and then walking towards the shop, towards Jarvis's shop. That's what this is. I'll just play it so you can see yourself.
Playing exhibit 49 from the beginning. And stopping the video at 9 seconds in. I'm not going to ask you to narrate what we're seeing in the video. I just want to lay some groundwork as to what we're looking at. Did you see that bus go by on the right side of the screen?
Correct.
And where is that bus approximately stopping right now on the screen?
That's stopping right approximately at 3 Mile Drive.
And Cornwall?
Cornwall.
Okay. And we're looking at Bedford from this view.
Yeah, we're looking eastbound from the house of 4803 towards down Cornwall towards 3 Mile Drive.
Okay. Continuing playing from 9 seconds. And moving to exhibit 50 and playing from the beginning. And moving now to exhibit 51. And stopping at 6 seconds into the video. Detective, is there a timestamp on this video that you can see or that you know of?
There is a timestamp.
Can you see it on the screen right now?
No, sir.
And is it being obscured by the zoom thing in the bottom right corner?
Correct.
Very much.
Are you okay if I just read what that is?
Yeah, that's where okay. Detective, when you went to extract this, is there something you do or a process that you follow to calibrate the time system on the system you're extracting the video from?
Correct. We do a time calibration to the world clock.
Okay, and what is the world clock?
So basically, the world clock is the anatomical clock that we go by from the Navy clock. So looking at the
This video isn't the best, but I think what stands out is that everyone mentions this like colorful, pinkish, colorful jacket that she has on. So obviously the picture in school, she has like a black zip up or something, but it's Detroit and it's January. So she also had this jacket.
anatomical clock or the world clock to the video system, we calibrate how if it's zeroed, which this one was, to or if it was short or fast.
Okay. So you would be able to tell if the time system that is on the video is 10 seconds fast, 2 hours fast, or slow?
Slow, correct.
And what was the result again for this video?
Again, this was 0 to the world clock, so it was on time.
Okay. And
Just go full screen.
are you good? Okay. Move light. I need to see the bottom. And I'm not going to say that. Perfect. May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yeah.
Detective, can you read, it might be easier on the laptop, what the time is in the bottom right corner on the screen right now?
Once it's still covered up. So that time is, and I don't have my glasses, it is January 9th, 2024. I believe it's 14:54 and some seconds.
And 14:54 would be around
2:54 p.m. on the 9th of January.
And all of these videos have that timestamp?
Correct.
And playing the video now from 33 seconds. I have nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
Okay. So in that video, are you familiar with that area that's depicted in the video?
Correct.
Okay, so you said that was a view from the camera on a house viewing Bedford going east. Is that correct?
Bedford runs north and south. Cornwall runs east and west. So it's shooting eastbound down Cornwall, basically.
Okay. But your view is is looking towards the east.
Correct.
Okay. And so in Bedford, you said is a north-south street.
Correct.
And so the person walking down Bedford would be going towards the north.
Yes, ma'am. Towards East
Harper?
Warren.
Or is it Warren or is it Harper?
That's Warren.
Warren. Okay.
Well, Warren, then Harper. That's all going in that direction.
Okay. Nothing else, thanks.
Nothing further, Judge.
Okay, you're all done. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. And now let's go to the lead detective. She was on the stand for 2 days. And I'm going to play, I think in the beginning of her testimony is important because she gives a little bit of context in the beginning before she talks about the text messages on the second day she's on the stand, but on the first day she just kind of does some setup. that I think is just useful and could maybe answer some questions. Obviously, as I have pinned, and also as Ms. Tiff has said, and a lot of people have said, there's a podcast that covers this way more in depth, and a person who's covered this way more in depth than I have. If you don't know, I typically stay away from children's cases because they are too heartbreaking. But anyway, so check out and support the people, obviously, who have been covering this from the beginning. But I want to go into the beginning of the lead investigator, her testimony for the setup, and then we'll go to the heartbreaking text messages that are just disgusting and hard to listen to. But we're here now. This is her. I didn't want to go to the very beginning because sometimes they'd be like, I worked at this place for this many years. They have to go through like their credentials and who they are and what it means to investigate a case and all that kind of stuff.
Or that there's something more to just not coming home, then we start pulling different persons, specifically those type of cases.
Yes. And before that, where were you at?
Patrol.
Okay, and how long were you there?
I've been on the department for a total of 24 years.
Okay.
So throughout the prior years to missing persons, I had various assignments.
And what is your role in this case?
I'm the officer in charge.
What does it mean to be an officer in charge?
So I'm in charge of reviewing all the evidence and spearheading the investigations, looking into all the facts and possible suspects and information that's brought to the case and to compile it together.
And what would be some common duties that you would do in partaking in those roles?
When it comes to missing persons, specifically those type of cases?
Yes.
So a missing person case, when someone's reported missing, we always go out to the home, search the home, talk to family, and try to get a good timeline of when that person was last seen, their common habits, where they are supposed to be, has any patterns changed, are they not going to school and not going to work? If the investigation leads us to believe that that person may be in danger or that there's something more to just not coming home, then we start pulling different video and try to look into cell phone data or friends or associates of that specific missing.
And in particular, have you investigated what would be known as a no body case before?
Yes.
Okay, and what does it mean to be a no body case?
That would be a missing person that we have come to the conclusion is a victim of a homicide. However, we were unable to locate or recover the body.
Okay, and how does that kind of investigation differ, if at all, from another investigation that you would do?
It's a little tougher. You need to go through and kind of be able to show and establish that this person is no longer with us today. When you have a body, it's obvious, then you can come to the conclusion and work your case that way. So on a no-body case, you're trying to find any signs of life, any evidence to show that there might have been some possible danger or some assault that may have happened to this person.
Now, I'm sorry, when did you get the case of Messiah Harris?
So it was first requested to me on February 12th. I received the email. It was just kind of asked me to look into the case. It wasn't at our building yet or at our department. I looked into the case when I saw that DPS was initially assigned the case, and I had reached out to Lieutenant Harris from DPS to kind of ask for an update on where they were, kind of see how the case was progressing and any evidence that they may have had.
Okay. So after that, how did it come about that you got this case?
So after meeting and discussing with Lieutenant Harris and reviewing the different things, it was determined that there had been enough suspicious possible things connected to her being gone. Number one, she's never been missing before. There's been no updates on any of her social media, which is very uncommon for a young child or juvenile. They're addicted to those. There had been a last known contact that she had possibly met somebody, is what we were informed, that there was a text message for her to be picked up, and that would have been the same day that she went missing.
So when you first officially received this case, I mean, what is it that you do right off the bat?
So this case was a little different because we kind of had to go back. We were,
just again going back to this. So they had this case, they had that text message. Seems like she met with some, they being the school police, had this case, had the text message saying that she apparently met with somebody, and do nothing. It's not until somebody emails her, which apparently was another family member, saying, do something, John. And so she reaches out to the school, and they're like, yeah, you know what? This is kind of crazy. Nobody has seen her. She's not on social media. She had this text message and nobody has seen her. And then she gets the case and starts to get action. That's insane. Also, I just want to say, I saw a text. This is jumping ahead slightly. When I edited the text message, I edit them to just get to some of the text so people could have context. I did not include, in some parts, I didn't include who was saying what to who. I just included like this. If you have only watched that and maybe haven't watched the full video, I just want to answer this question. The threesome text was not sent to Naziah. It was sent from Naziah, FYI. And they didn't have a third person. The question was, who would it be? Just FYI. I wanted to address this because I saw it. All right, here we go.
already a month behind. She went missing January 9th, and now it's February 12th. We start kind of looking into what has already been done and then what steps I would normally take moving forward.
Okay. So what kind of steps do you take moving forward?
So once I reviewed the case, and it was determined that the last person that had contact with Naziah was Jarvis Fiance, I then started to look into his phone records, his activity, places that he had been. On the 12th, we had determined there was already an analyst that had looked at different records and given us a location out in Ypsilanti. So I coordinated a search for the very next day on February 13th. We went out to Ypsilanti. We conducted the search. It's a large area, and it wasn't pinpointed down to a specific house. There was a lot of wooded area over there. We had multiple teams out there. There was probably over 60 people at one point. We then started going into different businesses to look for different video that we may be able to recover close to the intersection that we believed would be a good starting point in that search area.
And did you recover, or were you able to recover anything or find anything from the Ypsilanti area?
We did find some video that was eventually pulled from a gas station.
And what was, I guess, the condition of that video?
So the video is from a gas station. It shows the intersection, I believe it's Michigan and Carpenter, which is actually, I think that is like a Springfield township. It's kind of like a little small city just outside of Ypsilanti. At that point, we didn't know exactly what we're looking for, so we just kind of pulled like the window that we knew the devices were out there, specifically Jarvis Fiance's device that was out there. So we kind of just pull all of that video before we lose it. And then as we gather more information, we can kind of go back and look at the video to see if there's something now that we can focus in on what we should look for.
Okay. Now that brings up a good point. You said you're a month behind on this investigation.
Yes,
So that, fair to say, being a month behind would cause you to potentially lose critical pieces of evidence.
yes,
Okay, and some of those pieces of evidence, fair to say, could be videos.
correct.
Okay. Why would it be that you would be losing those videos?
So most video systems and every business is different. You got Greenlight, you have businesses and people that have their own residential cameras or property cameras. And it'll vary. Some of them start overwriting in 48 hours. Some of them is a week. Some may last up to a month. It just depends on how large their system is and how much data it can hold.
And is that a struggle that you encountered in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And where is it that you encountered that?
So there's several cameras and videos throughout the entire route of travel that later in the investigation we were able to identify. But as we identified those locations and went to see if video was still able to be there, it had already been overwritten or was not available.
Now, I want to take you back. You did the search in Ypsilanti. Did you do any other searches kind of immediately at that time?
Yes.
Tell me about one of them. We're going to go through them, but start with one of them.
Okay. So after we didn't find anything in Ypsilanti, I kind of got to go backwards a little bit and go back to who we had known was the last contact with her, which was Mr. Butts. So we did a search warrant for his home. Later, I believe it was like later that night, 13th into the 14th, we had kind of worked all the way through. We did a search warrant to obtain his cell phone so we could try to do an extraction. We contacted the jail to look through his property. There was no cell phone in the property. We then ordered the jail calls to see if there was any conversations, anybody that he had talked to. We knew that he had turned himself in on February 7th. As we started to listen to those jail calls, there was a call where he had asked his shop partner, Cordell Wright, to retrieve a phone out of a vehicle. We then went and picked up Mr. Wright and brought him down to our headquarters to talk to him about the cell phone. He did confirm and he acknowledged the phone call. He said that vehicle came up there, was a Tahoe, Tashi's vehicle, Tashiana, and that he had looked in the back seat and tried to find where the phone was that Mr. Butts kind of described where he had hid it in this vehicle. He said that he was unable to locate it. So at that point, we then did a workup on Tashiana to find out where she lived, what type of vehicle she had. It matched the description that he kind of described. We did a search warrant for her home in an attempt to locate the cellular device and any other possible evidence that may help us and direct us to where Neziah is.
Okay. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You started off with you went to do a search warrant at Mr. Butts' home.
Yes.
And would that be the one on Wilshire?
Yes.
Okay. And did you find anything at his house?
Yes.
And what is it that you found?
So from his home, we had recovered, there were some electronic devices. We recovered some phones, maybe a tablet, and we recovered his ID, wallet, and a firearm that was with his wallet. I believe there was 2 actual firearms, and then there was a long gun, a rifle that was in the closet.
Okay. And did that search warrant include a vehicle?
Yes.
And what kind of vehicle did it include?
It included all vehicles that we believe may be associated. At that time, we impounded a Cadillac Escalade.
Now, you said at that point you knew that Mr. Butts had turned himself in is it the Wayne County Jail?
Yes.
And that was back on February 7th of 2024?
Correct.
And at that time, did you know how long he was serving a sentence for?
We had got information that he was possibly going to be there till December.
Okay. And that would be completely unrelated to.
Okay, you keying in on what she said? When he was turning himself in, when Jarvis was turning himself in, it was supposed to be January, but he eventually turned himself in February. Her information, he was going to be locked up until December. And so remember, if he knows he's about to be going to jail for a period of time and Neziah is saying she's out here pregnant and that has not been dealt with, he's on a limited time to make something happen before he goes to jail.
That sentence is completely unrelated to your investigation.
Yes.
Okay. And then you said that you had pulled some jail calls, and that's what led you to Cordell Wright.
Correct.
And that that jail call that you had listened to that was previously admitted as People's Exhibit 1.
Yes,
And that led you to Tashiana Davis.
correct.
And then you subsequently executed a search warrant at her house.
Correct.
And is that on Neff Street?
Yes,
And she had a vehicle there that matched the description that Cordell Wright had given you.
yes,
Okay, and would that have been a Chevy Suburban?
yes,
Okay, and then you subsequently searched that vehicle.
yes.
And what is it that you found in that vehicle?
I found in that vehicle a iPhone 11, and it was in the exact area that Mr. Butts had described to his shop partner Cordell, where it would be located.
Okay. And that phone, okay, so ultimately, after you do that, what's the next step that you took?
Well, we had to identify that was the actual correct phone. It was in the right place, but we still needed to get it to our headquarters and download it. We had the phone there. We made a call to 911 from that phone in order to see what the identification number was to try to verify, so we weren't just taking random phones. It did come back to Jarvis Butts' phone number that we were looking for. The phone was then placed on evidence and taken to our base.
And what's the next thing that you did after that?
So after that, the phone now is getting processed under the search warrant.
Okay.
It is given to, I was given to Detective Markle, where she processed that. We then continued, we had searched the residence on Wilshire, we had searched Neff, we also executed a search warrant at 9,000 Connor.
And what's 9,000 Connor?
9,000 Connor is the location that was identified that Jarvis Butts worked at with his shop partner.
And did you find anything or anything at 9,000 Connor?
We did take some things as evidence. There was a lot of activity going on. So I had multiple different units from within our homicide squad assisting me with different search warrants that we were executing. I believe it was the Northeast squad actually executed the Connor location search warrant. They were advised of some items to look for, obviously children's clothing. We had been given a description of a Rugrats jacket with a fur hood. We were given the clothing description. At that time, we were told that the shoes were possibly blue and white Nike shoes that we had been looking for. There was an area in the shop, as I reviewed the evidence, photos where there's like children's coloring books and maybe things that when the children are there that they're using.
Were any interviews besides the one with Cordell Wright taking place at this time?
So at that time, I had interviewed, when we went to Wilshire, we had interviewed the woman that he lives with. I don't know if that's a fiance or girlfriend, but that was Miss Angel. We interviewed her there. Tashiana was in the hospital when we had executed the search warrant at her house. I had had a conversation with her on the phone while we were there. Her children were there. I scheduled an interview for her later. I believe it might have been like the next day or two later that she came down to headquarters. We had interviewed Cordell at that time. And now we're just kind of going through everything that we had at that moment to try to take the next steps.
Okay. When about is Mr. Butts interviewed for the first time?
So he was interviewed, we got it, looked at it on the 12th, the 13th, we executed all the search warrants. On the 14th, Mr. Butts, I believe it was the 14th, he was brought down to headquarters, or the 15th, I would have to look.
Okay, and that's okay. So it would be just a couple days after you get the case?
Yeah.
Okay. Based on Mr. Butts' first interview, which your Detective Mays here testify about, Did you do anything based off of that interview?
So based on that interview, we had obtained the text now, which was turned over to us from DPS, which was the initial, I believe it was like maybe 1 week's worth of text now. So like the very end of December into the 1st of January. So during that interview was when it was asked by Detective Mays and Detective Johnson regarding the text message about meeting to be picked up.
Now, if you know, can you estimate about how many search warrants did you execute?
Probably over 20. And throughout the entire, it has to be over 20.
And what kind of searches were done in this case in general?
So we searched as far as like land searches,
All kinds.
all kinds. Well, we searched Ypsilanti as we did our workup and we're looking at different locations that Mr. Butts had been to. We identified an area out in Clinton Township that he had gone out to back and forth before. And that was an area that Shannon Harris, his child's mother, had lived at. So this was kind of like a route out there and we located, there was like a big retention pond out there. So that was another place that we had dive teams come out. We had the helicopter, the cadaver dogs, and we searched out in Clinton Township. As we start breaking down the phone mapping a little bit more on Mr. Butt's phone, it kind of led us to 7 Mile and Berg.
And what's out in 7 Mile and Berg?
So 7 Mile and Berg, there is a vacant parking lot on the southwest corner. It used to be a golf course. So the entire south side of 7 Mile from Berg and then heading back east used to be a golf course, which is now shut down. And then on the other side of Berg, there's a parking lot where it has like a vacant building, which used to be the clubhouse for the golf club. And then right behind that parking lot is the Rouge River.
And when's the first time that you get out to 7 Mile and Berg?
We went out once. It was probably maybe a couple weeks later that we went out there. We went out there once. I remember it had snowed. So when we went out there, it wasn't as easy to search. We're kind of looking if somebody was just placed out there or if something was easily identifiable, but because of the snow, we knew that we were going to have to come back again once that melted because it'd be easier to see underneath.
Okay. And so do you go out there again?
Yeah, we've been out there multiple times. I've probably been out there 7, 8 times, all with various dive teams. We searched the complete river from 8 Mile all the way down past 96 on foot with cadaver dogs, in boats, in the water. There's several log jams. We had state police actually had their helicopter fly the entire route so we could GPS all the log jams. We had to coordinate with specialized teams to come in to help cut these log jams apart, which go throughout the river. And then throughout the season, obviously we had some rain, so the water goes up and down, which now brings the debris onto the land. So you have to actually search the land a couple 100 feet. And some places that the water has pulled debris. We searched the homes, as I said, searched the vehicles.
So when you're out there at 7 Mile and Berg, do you have an idea of what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the idea of what you're looking for?
So initially when we were out there, again, we had the clothing description. We had the picture of her that she had sent that night or that day that she went missing on the night. So we were looking for the black hoodie. We were looking for, again, initially we were told blue and white gym shoes.
Now, is there a time where that changes?
Yes.
Okay. And what is it that makes that change?
So as we go out to areas and search, when we leave, a lot of times large community groups may go out there, right? And they saw that we were at Sevenenberg, and I know people come out there to help. There was a group that had been out there and they were recording, and they saw a pair of Nike shoes, which were the red and black. We were alerted of those on our initial search. It's documented in our river search report. But because we weren't focused on the red and black and we were looking for blue and white Nike shoes, we left them there, but we did GPS the coordinates.
Stop you right there. That would have been Border Patrol Agent Wyatt Barnes.
Yes,
Okay, you heard his testimony.
yes.
All right, continue.
Yeah, so on our initial search, we knew they were out there, the pink hoodie was identified, but we didn't collect them, because again, we didn't have anything about a pink hoodie or a pink onesie. And the shoes weren't matching, and there's a lot of clothing out there. There's a lot of shoes out there, there's people's clothes, there's all type of debris, so I can't collect every single piece of clothing and article that we find. Later, I get the information that as the search team is out there, they had called 911 because they saw these shoes. And they posted a picture of these shoes somewhere or sent it to Naziah's brother. Naziah's brother then reached out to me and he sent me a picture of Naziah wearing the black and white Nike shoes.
Okay.
Once I saw she had the exact same shoes on, that are depicted, that were described out there, I knew immediately where to go. I gathered a couple members of my team and we immediately went back out to where the shoes were GPS located.
Just doing a context check-in. So again, she gets the case, and based off of the information that is given, this little girl has not been found, seen, anything. The last text is with this man, Jarvis. She immediately gets some searches done on Jarvis, starts looking at his information, starts looking at where he was that day. They end up having this full search with cadaver dogs, understanding where he was that day, that whole thing. And so what she's talking about is there's this area that has a lot of, it's a wooded area, also this like river, all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff out there. And so they did not take everything that is out there. They did not, take it and say this is related to the case. And based off of what she had, she was looking for some blue and white or black and white gym shoes. What happens is they end up, the family ends up finding out that these Jordans, these like red, black and white Nikes are out there. And the family is like, no, I think she's about to say it, so I may be going too early, but the brother is like, that's her shoes. And he sends her a picture of Naziah in those shoes to say, those are her shoes. So anyway, that's kind of what they're talking about and what they're going through. She's talking about doing this search. They had an idea of what she had on. Not everything seemed to be related, but these shoes, they took down where the shoes were located. And so when they were told that those were actually her shoes, they knew exactly where to go back out because they had taken it down.
And recovered the shoes. As we were there, that's when we found the black hoodie, and then the pink jumpsuit that had been laid out by Agent Wyatt.
Okay. Now, as it relates to those red and black Nike shoes, you had a photo that they were associated with Naziah in some way. Did you ever end up asking Annette to see if those shoes were still in Naziah's possessions?
Yes.
Okay. And did you ever end up recovering those pairs from Annette?
No.
So after you recover
Hello from the 7 Mile. We were just shouting them out. Shout out to that platform. Miss Tiff is saying something I said is not the truth. What is not the truth? I'm going to keep playing it, but chime back in and finish your thought there.
Pink jumpsuit, the black hoodie, the shoes, what do you do with them?
Those are all, the evidence techs collect them. They're placed on evidence. Those items were wet, so I had to wait, obviously, for them to dry. Once they're ready to be processed and they're finished drying, then I create a lab report. And items are selected and turned over to the state police lab for processing to look for any type of DNA evidence.
Okay, so once those are placed on evidence by the lab tech, you're the one who then submits them to Michigan State Police.
Yes.
Okay.
there may be some of the lab reports where I had gathered the evidence and one of my partners had gone down and physically took the items to the lab, which is all in the same building.
Ms. Tiff is saying Mark and Roxy found her shoes when they were asked to leave the search. They called the police who didn't take them seriously. It was then that okay, so there's some additional information, but what is testified to on the stand is that she did mention that other groups were out there searching and some shoes were located. They didn't take the shoes. So apparently maybe they were told that those were her shoes, but the police didn't take them seriously. But they noted where the shoes were. What the lady on the stand says is that they were contacted by the brother to showing her a picture of Naziah with the shoes on, and then they went back. But Ms. Tiff is saying apparently there's some additional kind of context to why and how they actually came about the shoes.
Now, I believe you said at least one time when you were out at 7 Mile and Bury that it had been snowing. Were you at all, I guess, familiar with kind of the weather back? Let's start with back in January 9th.
Yeah, so I searched it. There's a weather site where you can search the dates and the cities and what the weather was like. On the 9th into the 10th, it had rained here. If you remember, we had a very mild winter. In 2024, the January months, we had a lot of rain that month, which would have caused, the water levels to rise.
Now, is there, did you interview a Tijuana Butts?
Yes.
Tell me how that came about.
Tijuana actually reached out to me. Shannon Harris had reached out to me. She had had a conversation with Tijuana. She asked if it was okay for her to give her my phone number. I told her that that was fine. She gave me a call. She said that she was the sister of Jarvis Butts and that she was concerned that she may have seen Naziah but wasn't sure on the date and if she could come down and talk.
Okay, and that's all what she had testified to that you had heard?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you also heard that she had given Detroit police consent to look at her phone locations and perform a phone extraction.
Yes.
And that Detective Sarah Markle is actually the one who performed that extraction.
Yes.
Okay. Did you yourself look at the phone location data that was on Tijuana's phone?
Yes, so even before we extracted the phone, when she was in there in the interview, she had given me consent to look at her phone. She wasn't quite sure how to get to the locations. She had Google on her phone. So we went to the Google Maps, went to her timeline, and then specifically clicked on January 9th to see if it showed her route. When we got to the January 9th date, it was confirmed that that is the date that she was at 9000 Connor. And it helped us with the timeline of when she was there compared to when we know Mr. Butts left that location to head out to Ypsilanti on the 9th.
And Your may I approach people's proposed exhibit 85?
Yes.
58. Sorry,
Yes.
numbers. Candidates marked as people's proposed exhibit 58. Can you look at that and tell me if you recognize it?
Yes, this is a cell-bright extraction report that was conducted by Detective Markle for Tijuana Butts cellular device.
Okay, and that report specifically includes the location data and in the subsequent pages as it relates to Ms. Butts' skull. Is that fair?
Yes,
Okay. And is that fair and accurate depiction of the screenshot photo locations, location data from Tijuana Bus's phone that you observed that the day when you interviewed her?
yes.
I move the admission to the Bus exhibit 58.
No objection.
It would be in the People's 58.
And I want to direct you to I guess it's going to be page 3 of the report. Let's go with 4 of the report. Page 5. Ms. Butts was.
So it gives the location described as, on here it says Citgo, and it gives the address of 9,000 Connor Street, Detroit, Michigan, 48213.
And do you know do you know Mr. Butts's 9,000 Connor auto shop to be connected with a gas station?
Yes.
Agree, Golden Girl. She's saying, so again, his sister played a big part in getting this pushed in the right direction and bringing this monster up on charges. Because what happened, what they're going over is his sister, she calls like, hey, come talk to me. I think I saw the girl. Check my phone, check my location, verify that I was at that shop on the day that that girl went missing. He was there with the girl. She is saying, this detective, we looked at her phone location and confirmed where she was on that day was at his shop. That's the day that his sister went to that shop. So the girl she's saying she thinks she saw is or very likely could be Naziah. His sister played such a massive part in this.
Now, to go back just a little bit, you said you were kind of going through all the phone mapping in order to kind of backtrack as to where your investigation goes and where you should search.
Yes,
And those maps were testified to by Sergeant O'Rourke.
yes,
Okay. Now, she mapped certain locations, and she stated that you had given her some of those locations to map.
correct.
Okay. Now, I want to direct you to in People's Exhibits 33, 34. Never mind. The blue dot here. What is it that indicates, and what is the importance of that?
This blue dot is going to be 9,000 Connor.
And that's the address associated with Mr. Buck's auto shop.
Yes,
And that's the same for Exhibit 34? Hold on.
the residence that Mr. Butts resides at on Wilshire.
And in Exhibit 36, on page 2, there's like another, it's like a pinkish kind of purple dot. What is
The red dot is going to identify 20,000 Harper, which was the park
along with that red dot? What does the purple dot indicate?
gate. For Mr. Butts has a different girlfriend that lives at that location.
For East Alexandria.
Mr. Butts has a different girlfriend that lives at that location.
I'm fast forwarding just a little bit because there's more.
And in People's 38, there's a red dot. Which dot is that?
That would identify 7 Mile and Berg.
And
7 Mile, the pink jumpsuit and the shoes, and it's also the area. The 7 Mile and Berg area is where we identified the hoodie, the pink jumpsuit, and the shoes, and it's also the area that Mr. Butt's phone was mapping with. There's an additional search area that I did not include when she had asked me before. And that was where the ID was found. We had found the ID or received the 911 call for the ID before we went back the second time out for the shoes at 7 Mile and Berg. So we had also searched all the Evergreen. There's the Henry Ford High School over there. We searched behind the school, the wooded areas, and all the vacant homes in that surrounding as well.
Okay. And did you also do a search warrant as it relates to a Google account for Mr. Butts?
Yes.
Okay. And how was it that you knew what his Google Gmail was?
That was documented when I went through the cell phone.
This is kind of the setup, right? They're gonna get to what's in.
And you got a chance to go through. You sent a search warrant to Google for it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you got a chance to go through that search warrant return.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the search, or that's the Gmail account that would be associated with Mr. Butts.
Correct.
And you're supposed to give it 60.
Yes, this contains jarvisbutts82@gmail.com, which was his Google subscriber information.
And that's the first page. And the second page is, what would those include?
The next page includes searches that I located inside that Google return that we received from Google.
Okay. And does that document fairly and accurately depict what it is you received back from Google as it relates to a search warrant for jarvisbutts82@gmail.com?
Yes.
And I move for the admission of people's proposed exhibit. I forgot. 63. First page. And with it with the subscriber information. Tell me, who is the subscriber?
So it has a Google account ID number, then it gives a name that says Jarvis Butts. It has an email address, jarvisbutts82@gmail.com. There's also a phone number that's connected to it, which is 313-585-8719.
And is there a birthday associated with that?
Yes, November 21st, 1982.
And moving on to the searches, what dates do those searches encompass?
23.
Okay. And it's fair to say that those are the entirety of all of the searches from those days.
It is not all of them, no.
Those are just select ones from the Google return.
Yes.
All right. Starting with December 9th, tell me which ones that we have in that exhibit.
So the first, you want me to read the ones that are just highlighted, or you want me?
At some point, I went to the second day of this woman testifying, which is when like a lot of the text messages were read. I am not aware of what all is about to be read in these messages because I skipped, I believe. So this is your warning. I'm not going to play even for the next day, the next text messages. I'm not playing all of those text messages. They're just disgusting. They're hard to hear. And I'm not going to do that. So if this is your stop, this is your stop. Okay. But that said, I'm not going to read. I'm not going to just let that stuff play. For me, it's just too much. It's too much. So if this is your stop, I understand. And so have a fabulous day and keep your kids safe if this is your stop. I'm going to see what happens with these, and then I'll go to the second day. I am, for the people who are leaving, I am going to, maybe I'll add timestamps later to this video, because I am going to, that's why I'm not going to play all the text messages. I am going to get to the judge when she gave her ruling at the end, because that needs to be played in its entirety. So just know that I'm not going to play all of this, but If this is your stop, I get it. No hard feelings, honey.
I'm gonna start at the top of here. So,
The ones that are highlighted.
okay.
Just start with the ones that are highlighted.
Yep, so this search was December 9th, 2023 at 3:32 UTC time. So you would actually have to subtract 5 hours, which would make it the night of December 8th. And the site is, what's visited, it's Drink Me and Abort Your Baby, the herbal abortion tea by.
Okay, I do remember now. So the text messages, all of them, I think, do start on day 2. What she is going through, I remember now. They did these search warrants on his devices, and so these are things that Jarvis Googled, and so that's why it's the Drink Me abortion situation, because of the pregnancy. So that is what's happening. Before we get to the day 2, that is what she is going over right now. This is him Googling things about the abortion.
And Maya.
And what about the next one after that?
There is a site that's visited on December, it says here December 10th, 2023 at 9:32 p.m. UTC, so -5. And the site visited is plannedparenthood.org/learn/abortion/the abortion pill.
And
Yes,
the next
the
one.
next search is immediately after that, so December 10th at 9:32 p.m. UTC, the abortion pill, get the facts about medication abortion. There is a search that was conducted before that on December 10th, 2023 at 9:31 p.m. UTC. And that site is plannedparenthood.org /blog/can I use herbs to have an abortion at home.
And the next
The
one.
next one is December 10th, 2023 at 9:31 p.m. UTC. Can I use herbs to have an abortion at home? Planned Parenthood.
And the next one.
The next one is December 10th, 2023 at 9:36 p.m. UTC. So again, -5 hours. And that site is, it's ansirh.org, research, over-counter medication abortion. Search December 10th, 2023 at 9:36 p.m. Over-the-counter medication abortion, and that's from that same place before, ANSIRH. December 10th, 2023 at 9:32. Planned Parenthood, abortion, the abortion pill. How do I have an abortion using only misoprostol, misoprostol. The next search, December 10th, 2023 at 9:32. Planned Parenthood, learn abortion, the abortion pill. So it's like the same, back and forth to the same site. On December 11th, at 11:43 p.m. UTC, so -5 hours. Specifically is searched is, can I drink red antifreeze? Again, that same item is searched again right after the same time, 11:43 on December 11th, 2023. And I believe that's it.
Okay. Now, in that phone extraction that you went through of Mr. Butts, that Detective Markle had admitted, were you able to go through and I know you had mentioned there was a Text Now app and Text Now phone numbers that
Yes.
have been associated with Neziah.
Yes,
When you went through Mr. Butt's phone extraction, did you find any of Neziah's Text Now numbers?
yes.
Okay. And do you recall if what was on his phone? But first of all, did you eventually do a search warrant for Text Now?
Yes,
Okay. And did you receive messages back from Text Now?
yes. So the initial Text Now messages, again, DPS had done those and they had only gone back like a week. I had another search warrant submitted to Text Now and requested to go back to January 1st of 2023.
Okay. And when you found these Text Now messages on Mr. Butt's phone, did those include all of the messages that you got back from Text Now or just only parts?
It's all the messages through Text Now that were to that number that was assigned that Neziah was using on Text Now.
That's what you got back from Text Now.
Yes.
But I'm talking about on Mr. Butt's phone.
Oh, Mr. Butt's phone specifically was just the messages from Text Now between him and Neziah.
Okay. And did it include everything that you received back from Text Now or?
No.
And Senator, may I approach?
Yes.
Approaching with Nichols, proposed exhibits 46 and 47. Did you?
Yes, this is a extraction report for a iPhone. And it was for phone number account 313-585-8719. And this is the section in that extraction about messages.
Okay. And is that exhibit, proposed exhibit 46, is that a fair and accurate depiction of the messages that were on Jarvis Butt's phone between his phone number and the number 213-743-3173?
231, yes. 231.
231.
Yes.
Sorry, numbers. 231-743-3137.
Yes,
Okay. And those are the ones that you had seen on Mr. Butt's phone.
correct.
And I move for the admission of people's proposed exhibit. And 2023 through November 23rd of 2020.
Okay, so she's just going over what was extracted from the phone. This is the Text Now because they're about to get into it. Before they do, they end up going into, well, let me go here because they end up going into his police interviews and interrogations, and the audio is bad, so I'll skip those, but let me fast forward here. Just identifying it. They have to be identified prior to being admitted and putting them up.
And for the subscriber information in People's 16, can you tell me who was the subscriber there?
The subscriber here, the username is Neziah Harris 74.
And is there a phone number associated with that?
Yes,
What is that phone number?
231-743-3137.
And is there a phone ownership date period for that?
Yes,
What's that date period?
January 1st, 2024 to February 6th, 2024.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes,
It was you and you said Sergeant Sullivan?
yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to yeah, so they're about to, I don't know if you guys can see this, but they're about to get into the interviews, and I'll play a clip just so you can see I'm not lying. The audio is not great. I'm going back and forth about these text messages. Y'all hear that? That's how bad the audio is. And I watched all the days of YSL. I can't sit through bad audio for messages. But they are asking and confronting him about what they are finding. That's what's happening. So let me go to this next day. I'm telling you now, I'm not playing a lot of it. It's just it's too much for me. So I'm telling you now, if you want to, which is your business, if you want to watch and actually hear all of the messages, it's available on other platforms. I'm just not going to play a ton of this. Just know that I think the beginning is interesting because of what Shannon said. So I want to start there. Let me see where we are. Let me put this up.
What, like either some sort of like sharp object or a gun or something of the sort. Are you familiar with what that would look like through clothing?
And yeah, at this point, I'm going to object that
The messages. You had stated yesterday that when you searched Mr. Butt's home, you had found some guns.
Yes,
Did you, in any other searches, did you find any other kind of weapons?
yes.
And what were the, well, first, where were they found and what were they?
When we had searched Nev, there was a firearm inside the vehicle, the same vehicle that had Mr. Butt's phone. That firearm was later determined to be registered to Tashiana. When we searched Mr. Butt's car, there were several like kitchen knives in there throughout the car, various sizes. There was the weapons that were inside his home. And I believe that was as far as any weapons. There might have been some other type of blunt instrument or something, but nothing significant that I documented.
Okay. And Mr. Butt's vehicle that Escalade was processed,
Yeah,
and those items were sent to the lab,
yes,
and it's along with Miss Latricia Johnson's Nissan.
And just to point this out here, because again, this is circumstantial case. There's no body, there's no weapon, there's no murder weapon, right? They find these weapons. They don't find that it has any of Naziah's blood or anything like that. And then there, of course, there's no eyewitness to it either. So all of that is important in the fact that this is a circumstantial case.
From 313-379-5882. Do you have a copy with you?
I don't have a copy of that, no.
Can you read the messages that were sent from that number to Jarvis Butt's number, or I guess the messages that were captured within People's Exhibit 15? So, including the dates and approximate times.
So the first message is September 24th, 2022 at 22:15 hours UTC.
So this is the start of the messages between the two of them. That's where we are. We're getting into it, FYI. If somebody who's been following this also knows this bit of information, It starts September 24th. When Shannon was testifying, she mentioned that her son she has with Jarvis, his birthday, I thought she said September 26th, but maybe it was the 24th. And what she said is they had a party and Jarvis was not there. I'm going to re-listen now to these messages to see if there's some kind of connection or something that was happening. But Shannon testified to that. And that's just a little bit of something I paid attention to. Here we go.
She says, bald head Janiyah, come here.
And that's to a number that's not Mr. Butts.
Correct. Then the next message is on September 27th, 2022. All of these dates are from 2022. So September 27th at 1:37 a.m. UTC, it is sent to Mr. Butt's phone. We fitnessing, happy birthday. Immediately after that, at the 17-second mark, again to Mr. Butt's phone, it says, come on. On that date, September 27th at 1:52 a.m., another message is sent to Butt's phone asking, you okay? September 27th, 2022, 1:54 a.m., she has sent a message, where are we doing it at your choice? Immediately following that text, a message is received to Naziah, to this text now number, from Mr. Butt's phone that says, you tell me. 9:27, 1:55 a.m. A message is replied to Jarvis, says basement. 1:56 a.m. A message is sent to Naziah from Mr. Butt's phone that says, you sure? At 1:56 a.m., a message is sent to Naziah, from Naziah to Mr. Butt saying, or job. At 1:57 a.m., a message is sent to Naziah from Mr. Butt's phone saying, can you suck my dick, please? The message immediately following that from Mr. Butt's phone to Naziah, and make sure you erase the messages. Still September 27th, 1:59 UTC, a message is sent to Mr. Butt that says, okay, that is what I planned to do. Another message is immediately following that at 2:01 to Mr. Butt. You turn me on just looking at you, and then there's a bunch of letters, which possibly is maybe an image that was sent that doesn't capture on the messages. (2:02 a.m. Naziah sends another message to Jarvis. What time to be in the basement? 2:03 a.m. He replies and sends her a message that says, go change your clothes and take your panties off.
So y'all see what we're dealing with. So that's the beginning of the messages that they have between the two of them. That is the beginning of it. I am going to fast forward because you see what's happening. I think what you start to see if you listen, and what I was trying to get across in my recap, is the escalation and the grooming that happens, right? It starts with him asking these very explicit questions, and it's disgusting. And as you keep listening, what you hear towards the end is that he has groomed and manipulated and really changed this child into this like perverted, like disoriented, like not well person. And so it goes from a child who is, being directed and told and manipulated to do all of these sexual things. And as the text messages go in advance, she begins asking and telling him to meet her, and she wants to get down and she's ready. And so it's this like disgusting elevation of things that happen that really turn. And so it's a very clear representation of what he did to her, in my opinion. It's like you see her being perverted. You see him turning her and grooming her into what he wants. Because at the beginning, it's only him asking and him telling. And towards the end, it's her asking and her telling, right? I mentioned earlier that threesome request. A lot of people thought and assumed that that was from him. It was from her. It came from her. And that's the progression of what he does to her. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. It's disgusting. It's so sad. Like I can't. I'm going to fast forward a bit and then we're going to go to the judge, just because this is like, it's disgusting. Truly, it's disgusting.
Before we move on, Sergeant Jones, do you need a moment, a break? Are you okay?
I gotta go a little bit longer.
Okay, here we go.
Unless the court needs a break.
No,
Okay.
I'm making sure that she doesn't need a break.
July 22nd, 2023 at 14:56 hours, Messiah sends, "Bae, I wanna fuck."
You see what I just mentioned? You see how it starts off one way, and as you fast forward and go through time, the tables turn, right? It's the perversion of her, it's the progression of what he is doing, and it starts in September of 2022 and just goes and just goes and goes and goes. I want to get to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but I wanted to get to the point in which she is saying that she thinks she's pregnant. I know they do take a break. So when they get back, let's see if it's here. I'm not going to listen to her talking about this child texting that. I'm personally not going to listen to that.
My stomach hurts really bad. At 09:37 hours, Jarvis attempts to call Messiah. It shows here missed call from Bae for Life. At 14:26 hours, Messiah texts Jarvis and says, "I did have my period. It came when I was in the hospital." At 14:20 hours, this is now jumped to August 27th. 14:20 hours, Messiah sends GM for good morning. Messiah sends to Jarvis, "My stomach hurt real bad." 00:55 hours, she sends, "Why you can't answer?" 00:56 hours, she sends, "Never mind this, you anyway." At 01:31 hours, Jarvis replies to her, "Yes, baby." At 01:32, Messiah replies, "My stomach hurt really bad." At 01:32 hours, Jarvis replies to her, "I didn't nut inside of you." At 01:33, replies back, "With who?" 13:44, 13:44 hours, Messiah sends, "You down for it?" 2, he replies back, "What?" Spelled thing. August 28th at 13:31 hours, Messiah sends a message to Jarvis that says, "I want to try something." At 13:32, he replies back, "What?" Spelled W-A-T. At 13:32 hours, she says, "A threesome." At 13:44 hours, Messiah sends, "You down for it?" Then she sends a question mark. At 13:44, 3:49 hours, he sends what? She then replies back to him, "Never mind, NBM, are you busy?" And Isaiah tells him on a text, I can't, I have no money. After that, the next message is, that was, yeah. 14:33, Isaiah sends, my period haven't came at all. 14:36, she sends, hello, you there? With some question marks. 14:37, Jarvis replies to Isaiah, what you mean? At 14:38, Isaiah says, it have not came. 14:38, Jarvis replies to her, since when? Isaiah then sends at 14:38, 42 seconds, since I was in the hospital. The next message is, that was last month. I'm scared. I don't know IDK what to do. I have to go to the doctor's TM or tomorrow. At 14:41, Jarvis replies to Isaiah and says, you said that you took a pregnancy test and it was negative. 14:41, she replies, it did. At 14:41, Jarvis then replies, so go get another one. At 14:42, Isaiah tells him on a text, I can't, I have no money. After that, she says, you go get one. 14:43, she says, you ain't scared to get a plan B, get a pregnancy test and bring it later today. Just act like you have to use the bathroom. At 14:36, she says, PLS for please. She then replies, will you do it, with some question marks. At 14:51, she says, hello, with a bunch of question marks. Then at 14:56, Jarvis replies to her with, okay.
Okay, and now the messages from 9:26 at 14:31 and 41 seconds, all the way to 14:39 and 42 seconds, were those deleted?
Well, so they're deleted from the 14:31, 41 seconds, all the way down to 14:39 and 13 seconds. Those are not deleted.
Okay.
Then there's two that are deleted, which are the two messages that talked about, I'm scared, I don't know what I have to do. I have to go to the doctor's tomorrow. And then the other one that she deleted was when it says, you said that you took a pregnancy test and it was negative.
Okay.
There's one that she did not delete that was, it did. Then the rest of them after that, where it talks about get another test, come upstairs and put it in the bathroom, those messages were deleted.
Okay. And moving to September 27th.
September 27th, starting at 21:26 hours, Messiah sends, but are we still on for Friday? At 21:31, Jarvis replies, well,
I'm not playing that next part because it pissed me off when I listened to it. So again, this is back. I was saying October, November. This is September in which she's saying this. Okay. That's September. He doesn't do those Google searches about the abortion and antifreeze. He does those in December. Okay. September to December. And then January is when she comes up missing. Let me fast forward.
21:53, she says, so yes or no? At 21:54, she says, okay, so we fucking know. Sends Isaiah sends, I just want to talk. I really don't want to lose you. At 21:09, she says, can we talk later, yes or no? At 22:28, she says, I don't what's your problem, but I need you to bring me what I need tonight. It's hard doing all this gym shit with this baby. And if I don't do them, I'm going to get a F. 22:28, she says, if you keep ignoring me, you just gonna get no more pussy. 22:35, she says, answer the phone, you not doing nothing. 22:36, she sends PLSSSS for please.
And were those deleted?
Yes.
And now I'm going to jump ahead to January 9th of 2024.
January 9th, 2024 at 14:21, Isaiah sent to Jarvis, "Don't forget, be there before 3. I will let you know when I'm leaving the school. If you're not there, I will wait." Then at 14:22, she sends, "Send okay if you've seen the message so I can delete your number." Then at 14:23, Jarvis replies, "Okay," and those messages were deleted.
And there was no further communication between Isaiah's text number and Jarvis's number after January 9th, 2024, 1 year ago today.
Yes.
Nothing further, Judge.
What she just points out, which is also very key, right, especially for this case, is going through all of those text messages, which were disgusting to hear. But it shows the consistency in communication between Jarvis and Naziah. It shows, right, for starting in September of 2022 up until even January, there is this consistent, I mean, he started ghosting her after she talks about this pregnancy, but that there was this communication. And then January 9th comes, and what she just asked her is, has there ever been any other communication again? And the answer is no. Which, if I don't know where you are and can assume you're still around or alive, that communication just ends. And it's not like he got found out on January 10th or 11th or 12th. It's not like any of that happened. And the last communication is, "I'm going to pick you up." It just goes silent. So again, all of that is going to speak to what they have to prove. They have to prove she's dead, right? When you don't have a body, that's number one. If you're going in front of a jury of 12, what if she just ran away? What if she's with somebody else? How do you know she's actually dead? Those are the kind of things that, as a prosecution team, you have to put in the in the jury's minds that this girl is not alive. All of that reasonable doubt you have to try to knock all that down. They are saying she's dead, and you don't have a body. You have to prove it to a jury of 12. But then they also have to prove that he did it. And that's why all of a sudden the communication stops. Those are the kind of things, and I'm not a lawyer, that you have to try to show that she's not alive and he's responsible. And because there's a premeditation element, that he also planned it. He's the one who had a plan, did this on purpose, had a plan for it. So those are the kind of elements that they are up against when it comes to a case like this, a circumstantial case, particularly when there's no body. So I am going to, and there are people who would say I don't know that she's not alive. Like that's what you're up against. When you get a jury, that's what you're up. Are you going to be able to get these 12 people? Anyway, let me get to, you guys got the point. I want to get to what the judge says, because it was very impactful. That wasn't the first time that she brought up, if you listen to all the text messages, that wasn't the first time that she brought up being pregnant. And she said she was in the hospital and her period came, but then later on she says that it never came when she was in the hospital. So it just seems a little hard to understand when she actually was, if she actually was. Like, all of that is not, like, you know what I'm saying, like solidified in that way. But what you do know is that in December, he was Googling antifreeze. That's what you do know. All right. Let's get to these closing arguments. I'm skipping the actual closing arguments. I'm going to the judge. Give me a second. Here we go. Excuse me.
Thank you.
As far as Fisher, I agree with the people that this case is distinguishable. This is a case regarding a trial. And the one thing I had highlighted in page, this cases were, quote, in this case, there was no physical evidence such as blood stains or a weapon leaking defendant to Joyce's death. In this case, we don't have the same facts or circumstances. I do agree, this is a circumstantial case, and circumstantial evidence is sufficient for a bind over and even conviction. Today is January 9th, 2025, exactly 1 year, from the day Neziah Harris disappeared. Before I get into the charges, and the main charge of premeditated first-degree murder, I have to speak on Neziah Harris and the community who failed her. And I am only presented with certain evidence. I don't know the whole story. The attorneys know more than me, the family knows more than me. But from what I have heard over the last 4 days and 5 days total, is that several people failed her. I don't know where her mother is. I don't know anything other than that she was forced to live in a home where she was not protected or given the adequate attention and love. I don't know where her father is. I don't have any mention of him in her life, no presence. To Cordell, AKA King, and all the men who saw Jarvis Butts hanging out and always around these young girls, including Neziah, and his 9-year-old daughter going up to the shop to clean up his shop. The school counselor who never showed up, or the person who was supposed to show up if that counselor was absent, after Neziah was on the floor on the day she went missing, saying that she needed to speak to someone and speak to a counselor. There's no mention of CPS, but I wonder what their involvement was over the years, because this was not just a 1-year thing. There are text messages at least from 2022.
I don't know about that part. If somebody does, put it in the chat about her being on the ground at school or something. I don't know about that part she just referenced. So I don't know if what's the name is still in here, but put the context in here, because I don't know that part. We might have to go back and watch somebody's testimony that we missed, but if you do know, put it in the chat.
To her adoptive grandmother, Annette Harris, whose testimony, in my opinion, was very questionable. I understand why the people put her on the stand to establish Neziah's residence and the houses on Bedford and the regular routine, to establish also that Neziah was not a runaway child, that she was not a bad kid. I do believe she adopted Neziah. I do believe that she had 6 kids in the house. I believe that Neziah had on a dark hoodie the day she went missing, and that she had on red and black Nikes that day. What is hard to believe is that the defendant never came into the house as she testified. And there was also a minor that testified that he did as well. Text messages that show between him and Neziah that he did in the basement, saying he was going to the shower, stealing her panties. He was always lurking around that house and asking for Janiyah and Zaniyah, from what I know. I even thought about the breakfast routine and saying that all the kids like eating breakfast at school. Did they have a choice? I don't know. But to always send those girls up there to clean up the shop raises questions. And how were there 2 women in that house who have birthed children themselves who did not notice that Neziah was pregnant, and I believe she was, and not having her period anymore? But then after hearing text messages today, begging Jarvis for pads as if she didn't have anyone else to give it to her. And what stood out the most was when Annette Harris stood on the stand, and she learned around 6 p.m. that Neziah did not come home from school, and said she looked around for her and decided to wait until the next morning to call the police. Without a tear, without emotion, or any expression of being devastated. And to her Aunt Shannon, who also showed no emotion, expression of being devastated from Neziah going missing. She stated that she had friends help look for Neziah, but was directed to just wait until the morning to call the police. A grown woman who likely suspected something strange going on didn't feel the need to call the police either. They were both able to go to sleep at night without hearing from Desire or having any indication that she was coming home that night. And of course, the defendant, who I will get to in a minute. I don't know who else failed Desire, but the community did. As far as the people establishing probable cause, I will focus on count 1, as it's been stated that there is no contention with counts 2 and 3. In count 3, I will amend based off of the motion and the testimony I heard that Desire was 12 and not 13 at the time that Jarvis Butts had sexual intercourse with her. The prosecution is correct. You do not have to have a body to establish first-degree premeditated murder. It would have been a much shorter exam had her body been found, but this is where we are. In the last 365 days, no text messages. We all heard today and yesterday that she was very active and frequently texted. No social media for a year. We heard through testimony that she was also active on social media. No phone calls, which she was also able to do according to testimony. No physical sighting of her by anyone. She never came back to school. No one has seen her. Medical records dated from July 2014 to October 2023 indicated that she had no life-threatening medical issues that would lead to a natural cause of death. The black hoodie found in the area of 7 Muhlenberg with her DNA and blood on it. The holes in the hoodie consistent with some sort of struggle, violence, or weapon being used. And we know that there were no holes in that hoodie when she wore it to school. We saw a picture of her in a black hoodie on her last day that everyone saw her. I do believe her grandma testified truthfully about the sweatshirt that she had on and that was practically new. And the border agent who said that no evidence of animals would have destroyed the clothing or the shoes to possibly lead to animals tearing up that hoodie. The clear glasses found in the blue Nissan the day after she went missing. The behavior of the defendant when he snatched those glasses. They looked exactly like the glasses she had on in her last picture, according to the witness. The shoes that her brother described as the same shoes that were found also in the area of 7 Muhlenberg near the hoodie. While this is still probable cause, the evidence all points to Jarvis Butts. His locations, him being seen with her last, the abortion searches, the abrupt silence between the two of them in text messages, and the constant lies he told throughout the entire investigation. And they were proven to be lies with text messages and other testimony. We may never know what happened, but from what I heard today and over the last 4 or 5 days, it appears he intended to perform what he thought was a do-it-yourself abortion on Desire. It went south, and instead of seeking medical attention for her, he intentionally killed her and tried his best to cover it up. As much as I want her to be alive today, there is at least probable cause to show and believe that she's dead and that she was murdered by Jarvis Butts. Mr. Butts, stand up. You've been sitting over there for 4 days with your head down, sitting between and behind your attorney with your mask on and taking vigorous notes. I want you to pay attention and listen to everything I have to say. I have been trying to figure out for the last 5 days, you. At one point, I thought you were cognitively impaired in the beginning of this exam. And then maybe you had the brain of a 10-year-old, and that's why you were doing such things. But as I heard more and more testimony, you're just a true definition of a pedophile. Watching you laugh and brag about all the women you have with different women and the children and the girlfriends, and making babies to groom them and having them in your presence, cleaning up your shop, and the little girls around you, has landed you here today. You groomed Desire. You played mind games with her. We all heard that. You controlled her emotionally. She was exposed to so much at such a young age. The text messages between you two were disgusting to hear. And to think that she had you saved in her phone as bae for life. Desire deserves so much more. And while I mentioned other people that failed her, Jarvis Butts, you are the monster in this whole picture. She did deserve love from her parents and everyone who was in her life. She was ignored, she was neglected, and you took complete advantage of that. She wanted someone to love her, and she will never know what that feels like. Your children deserve more. As much as defense counsel has raised issues on count one, all that has done is raise the question of fact for the trier of fact, which means that this will be for a jury or a judge to hear in Third Circuit. I pray for the healing of all the victims and the young girls and possibly boys who have come into contact with you. As a community, we should look at this case as a prime example of how much work we have to do when it comes to protecting our children and especially our Black girls. I pray for closure and healing for all those who have been traumatized by you. And for you, Jarvis Butts, I wish you a speedy trial and that justice be delivered. Your bind over date is January 16th at 9 o'clock a.m. Anything else for the record?
Not for the people, Judge. Thank you.
Not for defense.
Do the right thing and tell us where she's at, please. I'm sorry, Judge. Just do it, Jarvis. Where is she at, Jarvis? Just tell us. Judge, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to disrespect your court.
Will you all turn off the camera, please? As well as the
I could cry, literally. Ugh. So yeah, it sounds like she set it for the 16th, but it's been updated to be the 17th. So in about 3 days, he will have he'll be brought back to court. It'll be a conference, so it's at calendar conference, so they'll probably set his trial date because that was just the preliminary hearing. So there will be more at the trial, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll be even harder to watch. I don't know who was yelling at the end. I assume somebody in the I don't know, child. I don't know. One of the people who probably failed her, who could have and should have done so much more for that child. Somebody was asking about the difference between like the age, and I just wanted to show you that. Is this gonna work? So like you see where it says person under 13. There is another charge that he has where it says 13 through 15, like the age is 13 through 15. So I don't know if the way that these are listed, there are different minimum and maximums. That's probably the case where if it's under this age, there may be a minimum and maximum that's different than if they are this age or the next age or whatever. I don't really know. I'm not a lawyer. But what she was saying is that it was adjusted because it probably, I assume, said like over 13 or 13 to 15 or whatever. And this one is saying person under 13, the defendant is like 17 years or older. So I saw somebody asking about that. All right, y'all. That's all I got. That's all I got emotionally. This case didn't beat me down. Yeah. So that's how that ended. I don't know. I know somebody, everybody was asking when I was watching this. I was like, what did I miss? Because I watched all the pieces I could find. So I somebody said that everybody in Detroit has heard about this part about her laying on the ground and the counselor. I don't know if that part was in the video or I haven't watched it, and I pretty much thought I watched all the pieces. So there may not be a video. That said, yeah, somebody said be a good human. Go be a good human. If you see something, say something. If you feel it in your gut, say something. Protect your children, hug your children. If it feels weird, it probably is. Those are the things I have to say. I'm talking to y'all, I'm talking to myself. Because this case is just a reminder, as she said, of the work that we have to do to protect our children, all of them, all of our children. So thank you for joining me, being here for the last few days. We covered this. This is my first time kind of doing it this way. And I think it worked. Next week, if you don't know, ASAP Rocky's trial, his criminal trial, is supposed to be starting in LA. I am planning to attend that trial in person. I don't know if there's a camera that's going to be set up. I've asked if I can have one. If you're in my Patreon, you may have access to that, depending on what happens. I'm still waiting to hear, but just know that that is the next one that is on my list. I went to ASAP Rocky's preliminary hearing, so a hearing like this, but for ASAP, I did that last year. I did that one in person and kind of talked about what happened there. I think I have a recap, but that criminal trial is supposed to start on Tuesday of next week. It'll start with jury selection. When they say start, it's usually jury selection. And then after a jury is seated, they go into the trial itself. So that's what's coming up for me. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe. Please like. Please do all the things all the YouTubers say that they tell you to do since I'm migrating and trying to figure out my life after TikTok. Y'all have a good day. Don't do nothing. That's going to make me have to make a I'm not a lawyer but video on you, okay? Don't you do nothing, and don't your kids or nobody you know do nothing, because I'm going to make the video. All right, bye. Bye, bye, bye.